I needed groceries. Simple, right? Wrong. Nothing is simple when you live in a dungeon and your nearest supermarket is a wizard's tower run by a giant lizard-eyed old dude. Before heading out, I asked Lil about money. Turns out 1 gold coin feeds a family of 5 orcs for an entire month. Like, fancy meals every day. And here I was about to stroll out with a pocket full of them like some clueless tourist wearing a fanny pack in a sketchy neighborhood. Lil also warned me that human cities have these annoying thieves with a skill literally called money sense. Basically a gold coin metal detector built into their eyeballs. Bring 1 coin, and they'll tail you from the city gate to your hotel. So yeah, I'm basically a walking ATM with 0 security. I grabbed 10 gold coins, stuffed 9 into my magic mushroom ring, and kept 1 in my pocket. Lil refused to come with me because apparently being around Grandpa Saul gives her anxiety. Fair enough. She stayed behind to mop floors like a responsible employee while I went shopping alone. She also reminded me we open in 3 hours. No pressure. I teleported to Saul's tower. The old wizard immediately spotted my ring and got all wide-eyed. Turns out mushroom people space rings are basically legendary items. The last one sold 600 years ago for 7 figures in gold coins plus a purple tier weapon. And here I am wearing one like it's a mood ring from a gas station. Anyway, I told Saul I needed 2 things, food for my kitchen and some sweet producing plants for my mushroom buddies. I slapped my 1 gold coin on his fancy desk. Real big spender energy. Saul instantly switched from wise sage mode to used car salesman mode. He waved his sleeve over the desk and poof. Magical seeds appeared, all glowing different colors like forbidden Skittles. Here's the lineup. Honeygrass, pink, 5 gold each. Basically a sugar fountain disguised as a plant. Half a liter of syrup per day, last year's. Not bad. Hope tree, green, 20 gold each. Grows fruit full of sweet juice. Also doubles as a water source. 3 months from seed to fruit. The name sounds like a therapy brand, but whatever. Meat-eating flower, dark purple, 30 gold each. Produces the most honey of anything, but you have to feed it raw meat first. Its drool literally transforms from stinky spit into sweet nectar. Hard pass. My mushroom people are scared of adventurers. They're definitely not gonna hand-feed steaks to a carnivorous plant with a mouth. Rainbow birch tree, rainbow, 60 gold each. The premium option. Makes sparkly rainbow sap with special effects. Basically the champagne of tree juice. Also basically costs a kidney. I wanted everything except the murder flower. But I only brought 1 coin. Genius move, Ivan. Then I had my big brain moment. Hey Saul, can I pay in maple honey instead? He said yes. 60 tons of green quality honey for all 6 seeds. 60 tons. I peeked into my ring at the ocean, and I mean literal ocean, of maple honey the mushroom people had been hoarding for 1,000 years. 3 layers, fresh gold on top, aged red gold in the middle, and deep ruby vintage at the bottom. 60 tons was basically a teaspoon out of that sea. I tried so hard to keep a poker face. I really did. But Saul saw me fighting back a grin and knew immediately I was sitting on a ridiculous amount of honey. He pulled out this fancy little box with 3 compartments, a magical measuring cup basically, and I poured in the honey. The golden stream made this satisfying whoosh sound, and the honey smell completely overpowered the fancy incense in his office. Take that, sandalwood. Seeds? Secured. Saul tried to upsell me on more stuff, but I shut that down. The man charges 60 gold for a seed. If I let him keep going, my honey ocean would turn into a honey puddle. I also ordered groceries, pig ribs, potatoes, onions, carrots, lamb, peppers, cumin, salt, the works. That only cost 1 gold coin because apparently food is cheap, but magic seeds are priced like downtown real estate. Saul also gave me a weird purple business card made of compressed shadow magic. Very aesthetic. My dealer is a 3,000-year-old wizard. On my way out, I found Grin the one-eyed giant napping against the wall with his axe sliding off his shoulder. I gave him a little jar of honey. Watching this massive cyclops delicately pinch a jar the size of his thumbnail, sniff it, and break into the most wholesome smile I've ever seen. Honestly, the highlight of my whole day. He patted his pocket 3 times to make sure it was safe. Protect this man at all costs. Then I teleported home. Total trip time, probably 20 minutes. Total money spent from my actual wallet, 1 gold coin. Total honey spent, 60 tons. Total regrets, 0. Now I just gotta figure out how to cook 200 pounds of pig ribs before we open tonight. No big deal. I had some time before the bar opened, and instead of going straight home like a normal person, I detoured to floor 18 to play Santa Claus for my mushroom babies. I found them all just waking up from their nap, nibbling on maple leaf scraps like it was breakfast cereal. When they saw me come back, every single tiny black grape, I went wide like, "Wait, didn't you just leave?" I crouched down, gotta get on their level, you know, and pulled out the 6 glowing seeds from my ring. Laid them on my palm like I was proposing to all of them at once. The moment I explained what each seed does, there were about 2 seconds of absolute silence. You could hear a mushroom cap drop. Then chaos. Little round hands shot out, and each mushroom person grabbed a seed and clutched it to their chest like it was a newborn baby. Their caps turned red from excitement. The ones who didn't get to hold a seed just started screaming, "Mushroom, mushroom," at the top of their tiny lungs. They sounded like a bag of jingle bells having a party. I gave them all the growing instructions and bounced. Last thing I saw was them huddled in a wobbly circle, caps touching caps, having what I can only describe as an extremely serious mushroom board meeting about garden zoning laws. Back at the bar, I barely got through the door when I heard this thundering rumble down the hallway. It was Grin, pulling a wagon the size of a school bus. No horse, just him. One hand on the wagon, one hand holding his giant stone club, looking like the world's most terrifying delivery driver. "Ivan, boss, your food. The wizard sent me." He talks like he's got lag, but honestly he was smoother than last time. Maybe that honey jar put him in a good mood. I walked up to the wagon full of crates and bags, touched the edge, and, K, sucked everything into my ring in one go. The whole wagon just empty. Grin stared at the empty cart, then at my ring, then back at the cart, with pure, "Wait, that's illegal," energy on his face. I invited him inside for drinks. He sat cross-legged on the floor, because he's literally 3 meters tall, and our furniture is, not built for that. He placed 3 tiny gold coins on the counter with the gentleness of a man defusing a bomb. Those coins looked like bottle caps in his fingers. He ordered 3 black weed Alesh and called Lil, "Miss Lil." Despite her telling him to just say Lil, he nodded obediently and said, "Got it, Miss Lil." Lil slapped her own forehead. Her tail did the disappointed wiggle thing. I love this bar. Anyway, cooking time. I tied on an apron, cracked my knuckles, and got to work. The kitchen was spotless because Lil had cleaned everything while I was out. Employee of the month, every month. The stove runs on magic. There's a lava crystal from floor 80 embedded in the bottom, and you just twist a knob to get fire. It's basically an enchanted gas range. No matches needed. I washed the pork ribs and lamb chops, rubbed them down with salt, pepper, and garlic, then let them marinate while I prepped my secret weapon, maple honey glaze. Oil in the pan. Wait for the smoke. Meat goes in, sizzle. The smell of pepper and garlic and searing meat filled the kitchen, drifted into the main hall, and absolutely destroyed everyone's composure. Grin was craning his neck toward the kitchen like a dog watching you eat dinner. Lil was trying to play it cool behind the bar, but I definitely heard her swallow. When both sides were golden brown, I drizzled maple honey over everything. The honey hit the hot meat and went hisses, caramelized instantly, and formed this gorgeous amber crust. The smell was sweet, smoky, savory, basically what I imagine heaven's barbecue smells like. 20 minutes later, I came out carrying 2 platters, 20 kilos of meat each. The pork and lamb were glazed in this shiny caramel shell with salt crystals and cracked pepper embedded in the surface. Side dishes: a few roasted carrots, some potatoes, raw onion slices. I'm not a Michelin chef, okay? We work with what we've got. Grin picked up 1 pork chop, which in his hand looked like a crouton, popped it in his mouth, chewed twice, and then froze. His one eye filled with actual tears. "This is the best meat I've ever had. 1,000,000 times better than my brother's roasted bugs." Then he grabbed 2/3 of the remaining pork in one handful and shoved it all in his mouth. This man's previous benchmark for fine dining was roasted insects. I immediately demoted him from food critic to food vacuum. Lil, on the other hand, gave me actual useful feedback. She took a bite of lamb, her ears perked up and did 2 little shakes, which I think is Fox Girl for, not bad, and said, "Decent. The honey crust is nice, doesn't overpower the meat, but it's slightly overcooked. Cut 2 minutes next time. Fair enough. I tried it myself. Looked amazing. Tasted fine. The honey crust was genuinely great. Crunchy, sweet, fragrant. But the meat underneath was just salt and pepper. Coming from Earth where we had soy sauce, cooking wine, oyster sauce, star anise, and like 47 other seasonings, it felt a bit one-dimensional. But hey, my customers are dungeon monsters who've mostly eaten raw cave mushrooms their whole lives. The bar is literally on the floor. Then Lil noticed something weird. Boss, weren't there more pieces on this plate? I looked. Yep. Several pieces had vanished into thin air. I knew exactly who did it. See, the dungeon core, basically the sentient god brain that runs this whole underground death maze, has been stealing my food. There's a bell on the counter it's secretly installed, and when I press it, a tray of tonight's dinner appears. The core's personal kitchen staff makes my meals. Tonight's menu from the core's kitchen: roasted suckling pig with crackling skin, white-cut chicken with ginger scallion dipping sauce, crispy roast goose, seafood congee loaded with shrimp and crab, and fluffy steamed rice. Meanwhile, the dungeon core had stolen my meat expecting it to be incredible. It looked gorgeous after all, bit into it, and was apparently furious that it tasted mediocre compared to its own 5-star kitchen. So there I was, sitting at the bar with Lil, happily eating world-class roast goose and seafood congee prepared by the dungeon core's personal chefs, completely ignoring the angry omnipotent being above my head grinding its metaphorical teeth because it got catfished by my pretty-looking but average-tasting pork chops. Karma is beautiful, and it tastes like crispy goose skin. First things first, I'm not a monster. I didn't forget about Grin while Lil and I were stuffing our faces with the dungeon core's 5-star dinner. I walked up to the counter and hit that magic bell twice more. 2 full luxury meal trays popped into existence. Roast suckling pig, white-cut chicken, crispy goose, seafood congee, steamed rice. The works. All free. The dungeon core is basically my personal DoorDash, except it doesn't know I'm scamming it. Grin picked up the congee bowl with 2 fingers like he was handling a contact lens, sniffed it, then tilted his entire head back and poured the whole thing down his throat. His eye literally lit up when he tasted the crab meat. Then he demolished everything else at triple speed and ate the pig bones. Just crunched them up like potato chips. And just like that, my lovingly crafted maple honey pork chops got demoted from first place to second in Grin's heart. Can't even be mad. The dungeon core's kitchen is staffed by chefs whose recipes were bought with real gold from Earth's master cooks. I'm competing with Michelin stars using salt and pepper. It's like bringing a kazoo to a symphony. Grin stumbled out of the bar absolutely hammered. 3 tiny Alesh apparently hit different when you just ate your body weight in food. He was swaying at a 45-degree angle and bouncing off door frames. Pretty sure the wizard's tower had no security guard tonight. Just vibes and magical ruins. After cleaning up, Lil and I opened for business. The dragon blood goblins showed up first as usual. Scarface was leading the pack with a fresh new wound, a nasty cut running from wrist to elbow, probably courtesy of some adventurer's sword tip today. The bandage on his other arm was finally off. This dude collects scars like other people collect stamps. They lined up at the counter, ordered drinks, and then just stood there, waiting, staring at me. They weren't here for alcohol tonight. They wanted meat. Because yes, I officially launched my food menu tonight. 1 gold coin gets you a pork chop and a lamb chop, 2 pounds total, with some roasted carrots, a potato, and raw onion slices. Is it overpriced? Absolutely. I bought all my ingredients for 1 gold coin, and I'm charging 1 gold coin per plate. My profit margin would make a Wall Street banker blush. But here's the thing. These guys normally eat whatever crawls past them in a dark tunnel. My mediocre cooking is their Gordon Ramsay experience. Nobody complained. Scarface was gnawing lamb with grease running down his chin. Broken Tooth ate an entire potato with the skin like an apple. Iron Ear carefully arranged his carrot slices in a neat row and then swallowed them all in 1 gulp. Monsters are weird, man. The regular goblins and gremlins trickled in too, mostly broke, 1 coin each, just enough for a single beer. 1 little gray gremlin stood on his stool tippy-toed to reach the counter, and I caught him staring at the dragon blood goblin's meat plates with the saddest puppy eyes I've ever seen on a creature with no pupils. Want it but can't afford it, written all over his face. Felt a tiny pang of guilt. Tiny. I still charged full price. The skeleton miners came by too, about a dozen of them, all trained by Soren now. They don't need my help with the vaporizers anymore. Soren apparently runs a whole orientation program down in the mines. How to wear the helmet, how to breathe the alcohol mist, how to wipe down your equipment when you're done. HR Department of the Undead. Closing time, 2 a.m. Last customers stumbled out holding each other up. Scarface and his crew cleaned up their tables spotless before leaving. Wiped down everything, picked up onion rings off the floor, threw away every bone. Say what you want about dragon blood goblins. Their table manners are better than most humans I've met. Final numbers, 134 gold coins tonight. 45 perfect reviews, 23 good ones, 18 meh ones. Overall rating still perfect. Plus 109 soul fire points, which I dumped into stamina and spirit power. I'm committed to the tank mage life now. Big health bar, big magic bar, 0 regrets. Then I pulled up the upgrade menu, and my good mood immediately crashed into a wall. The kitchen option was gone, already built, and in its place sat this monstrosity, Advanced Brewing Crop Cultivation Room. Price, 1,000 gold coins, plus a temperature control system, and some kind of plant analysis magic circle that I have no idea where to find. 1,000 gold. I don't even have half that. The other options weren't much better. Upgraded brewing room. 300 gold, 100 perfect reviews. Expand the hall by 30 square meters. 300 gold, 70 perfect reviews. VIP booths. Need black stone, redwood, and animal hides that I don't even know where to find. The system's description of my bar was also hilariously brutal. Drafty, barely any drinks, only attracts bottom-tier customers. Decoration is an eyesore, 0 taste in aesthetics. It's honestly shocking anyone comes here at all. Thanks. Really feeling the love. I decided to prioritize 2 things. The brewing room, need more. Barrel space, plus literally lives in there. And the hall expansion, customers keep showing up, peeking in, seeing no empty seats, and leaving. Both together cost 600 gold and 170 perfect reviews. I've got 400-ish gold and 60-something reviews. Math says about 3 more days if the maple fruit wine launches well tonight. Speaking of which, the maple fruit wine finishes fermenting today. That should be a game changer for reviews. After all my mental accounting, Lil came down the stairs in a green dress with little white flowers embroidered on it. Probably the only casual outfit she escaped the Beast Empire with. She was towel drying her hair, and her tail was doing that lazy swish thing, with tiny water droplets still clinging to the white tuft at the tip. Good night, boss. Night, Lil. She disappeared down the stairs, green skirt and fluffy tail vanishing around the corner into the blue moss glow. I went upstairs, washed up, collapsed into bed, and was unconscious before my head fully hit the pillow. Running a dungeon bar is exhausting. My feet hurt, my wallet hurts, and the building inspection system thinks my establishment is garbage. But 134 gold coins in one night? We're getting there. 3 more days and this drafty eyesore is getting a renovation. While I was knocked out cold in my bed, dreaming about profit margins and maple honey, apparently the entire human empire was losing its collective mind over me. Here's what I found out later. Remember those silver rank adventurers who were spying on me from the bushes back on floor 17? The ones who watched me casually pat a building-sized python on the tail like it was a golden retriever? Yeah, they recorded the whole thing on some kind of magic GoPro crystal and went straight to the big boss of the Adventurers Association in Blackstone City. This guy Lanars, some retired legendary adventurer turned bureaucrat who wears a purple suit and carries a pimp cane with a ruby the size of a quail egg, was sitting in his fancy study acting all, "This better be worth my time. Real, I'd like to speak to the manager, energy," except he is the manager. Bartle, the leader of the spy squad, popped the recording crystal on the desk and hit play. The hologram showed yours truly standing in the maple forest, looking confused at fruit on a tree. Not exactly heroic footage. But then the video showed Alex the Titan Python rising out of the lake behind me. And instead of running away screaming like any sane person, I just turned around and vibed with it. And then the snake literally bent a tree branch down for me like a butler serving appetizers. Lanars went from bored aristocrat 2. Sitting straight up with his cane gripped like a weapon, in about 3 seconds flat. He even used some lie detection spell he learned from a paladin back in the day. Made Bartel's answers glow gold for truth instead of red for lies. Everything checked out. But one lie detector wasn't enough for these people. Oh no. Within 30 minutes they teleported in a whole squad of legendary rank human polygraphs from neighboring cities. One old hunter literally projected Bartel's memories onto a screen like a brain movie theater. A stone-faced lady wizard verified the recording crystal hadn't been tampered with using a time crystal fragment. And some half-elf ranger used a skill that makes liars feel itchy all over their body. 8 different truth verification methods total. These people do not mess around. Result: confirmed. There's a guy in the dungeon who teleports freely, is best friends with a boss monster that regularly murders adventurer parties, claims to be a beginner mage but acts nothing like one. That guy is me, the tavern owner. The one who was asleep with pork grease still under his fingernails. The association paid Bartel's team 600 gold coins for the intel. 600. These guys normally earn a few coins per month. One of them almost cried on the spot. Another one was already mentally shopping for better gear. They also got cushy jobs at the association and signed a confidentiality agreement thick enough to use as a doorstop. Meanwhile, the news rocketed all the way up to the capital, Lion City, where the king himself, some guy named Charlie, held an emergency roundtable meeting with other legendary adventurers. They spread out a map of the dungeon and had a whole debate about what to do about little old me. Charlie's big brain move: send his buddy Shava, a legendary black dragon, to go ask Saul what the deal is. The logic being that Saul wouldn't immediately vaporize a fellow monster the way he would a human trespasser. Apparently, the last legendary human mage who wandered into the dark forest got teleported back home using what Charlie diplomatically described as unsafe techniques. Translation: Saul yeeted at him. Shava was not happy about being woken up. This dragon sleeps on a literal pile of gold coins and gemstones like the world's most expensive mattress. He crawled out of his palace with maximum grumpy morning energy, stomped over to the king, lowered his massive head, and gave Charlie a look that screamed, "You better have a really good reason." Charlie explained the mission while casually patting Shava's leg, apparently a subtle, "I'm serious" signal between them. Shava grumbled about how he barely knows Saul, and the last time they met was 2,000 years ago when the wizard asked to borrow one of his scales for an experiment, and Shava said no. Then came my favorite part. Everyone at the palace expected Shava to dramatically fly across the continent. He took off, did one theatrical loop in the sky, and then gracefully U-turned and landed on a giant teleportation circle behind the palace. Beamed to Blackstone City in 1 second flat. Those idiots really thought I was going to fly there, he grumbled internally. That's a 3-day trip. I have a teleporter right here. Arriving at the dark forest, Shava circled overhead twice, every animal below, frozen in terror from his dragon pressure, then cleared his throat and bellowed across the entire forest in magically amplified dragon voice. "Seul? The human empire wants to know about that ordinary person who can teleport freely inside the dark dungeon." Adventurers in the forest stopped dead. A young mage apprentice nearly dropped his staff. An old herb seller was so startled he dropped a weight into his medicine pot. Every bird within 5 miles took off at once. And Saul's response: "My man, my wizard, my business partner, the guy I just paid 60 tons of honey to?" One word: scram. No magic amplification. No dragon language. No special effects. Just a flat, quiet, absolutely terrifying single syllable. Shava, a demigod-level black dragon, literally shivered in midair. His golden pupils contracted to pinpoints. He instantly decoded the subtext behind that one word. Don't ask, don't investigate, don't get involved. Period. Yep, scramming right now. Sorry to bother you, bye. Shava spun around and flapped back toward Blackstone City. Faster than he came. He may be a demigod, but him and King Charlie together only equal one full demigod's power. Picking a solo fight with Saul was basically volunteering to get his scales forcibly removed for wizard experiments. He sent the results back to Charlie mid-flight. Saul said no. Hard no. Iron wall no. The mystery person clearly has backing that nobody should poke it right now. Mission accomplished. Intelligence gathered. The intelligence being We know nothing, and the one person who does will obliterate anyone who asks twice. And there I was, completely unconscious in my bed, blissfully unaware that a king, a dragon, a secret spy squad, 8 lie detector specialists, and the most powerful wizard on the continent had all spent their evening discussing whether or not I'm a threat to national security. I'm just a bartender, people. I make pork chops and sell beer to goblins. Calm down. Turns out while I was sleeping like a baby, the entire political machinery of the Holy Empire was having a meltdown about yours truly. But I didn't know any of that yet. Let me tell you what was happening behind my back. Shava the Black Dragon flew home, plopped his giant head back into his palace full of gold coins, gave King Charlie the world's shortest mission report. Saul said scram. I scrammed, good night, and slammed the door shut with his tail. Literally used his tail to close the door. This dragon has zero work ethic, and I respect that deeply. Charlie gathered his legendary buddies back in the war room and relayed the one-word answer. What followed was apparently the most intense book club meeting in history, except instead of discussing a novel, they were dissecting the word scram like it contained the secrets of the universe. The intelligence guy was tapping the table going, well, historically, every time Saul tells someone to scram, he's protecting something important. The legendary mage cracked open an ancient book, because of course there's a book cataloging every time Saul has told someone to get lost, and confirmed the pattern. Every single time, he was shielding someone. Then they connected the dots. I'm a shadow mage. Saul is the shadow mage, the biggest shadow magic boss on the entire continent. Every human who can use shadow magic has ties to him. A guy who teleports freely through the dungeon and has boss monsters doing him favors? Obviously Saul's guy. They're not wrong about the connection, but they're building a conspiracy theory out of what is basically a customer-vendor relationship. I buy seeds. He sells seeds. That's it. That's the conspiracy. The legendary adventurers initially wanted to just grab me and study me like a lab rat. If we figure out how he befriends boss monsters, our dungeon efficiency goes up tenfold, said the legendary hunter, practically drooling. But then Charlie dropped another bomb. Remember how someone rescued Lil from the Beast Empire? Charlie had used a time reversal scroll to watch the footage, and the rescuer was wrapped in shadows so thick that even his demigod dragon eyes couldn't see through them. He was pretty sure that Mystery Shadow Man and the dungeon's beginner mage were the same person. The room went quiet real fast. Maybe let's not kidnap the guy who has a literal god backing him while we're already fighting a war against the Beastmen, said one legendary warrior, and suddenly everyone remembered they had survival instincts. But then, and this is where it gets fun, some sneaky legendary thief hiding in the shadows of the meeting room went, haha, what if we trick him into coming out? If he walks out on his own legs, technically we didn't kidnap anyone. Even if a god asks questions, we can say he volunteered. Charlie loved this idea. Tap the table twice. Plan approved. The logic being, if your god complains, we'll just say, hey, nobody forced him. He's got legs. He used them. Peak politician energy from King Charlie right there. 2 elite adventurer squads got the assignment. The Blackstone squad from Blackstone City and the Ocean squad from Riverside City. Lanar's, purple suit cane guy, was put in charge since he knows the dungeon area best. During the briefing, Lanar's was very clear. This is a charm mission, not a combat mission. Behind this guy stands a demigod shadow wizard and an unknown god. 2 things that would destroy every legendary fighter in this room. Put your fists away. Use your brains. And that's when the real weapon stepped forward. Her name is Hailey, Lord rank Phantom Thief. Specialty, seduction and assassination. Nickname in the adventurer community, the Siren, dark red hair that glows in candlelight. Dimples when she smiles. Dressed like she's going to a nightclub, not a dungeon. This woman took one look at the mission briefing, lure out a beginner male mage, and basically said, hold my beer, you really think a brand new mage can resist MY charm? Lanar's, sweetie, consider it done. Lanar's promised her a vice president position at the Riverside Adventurers Association if she pulled it off. Her eyes lit up like Christmas. Her teammates, a heavy armored warrior and a dagger-spinning ranger, exchanged a look that screamed, oh God, she's doing the thing again. The deal was insane too. Everything the squads loot during the mission? Keep it all tax-free. Die and lose equipment? Association replaces it. Die and lose levels? They'll power level you back up. Full insurance package. These guys were basically getting an all-expenses-paid dungeon vacation with a side quest of catfishing me. Meanwhile, at that exact moment, the target of this elaborate international honey trap operation, that would be me, woke up in his stone room and tried to open curtains that don't exist. Again, every single time. Every single time. I mumbled, slapping the cold gray wall where a window should be. Stumbled downstairs to find Lil already awake and waiting. She looked surprised I was up before the afternoon. Boss, you're actually awake? I thought you'd sleep until business hours. Lil, I am now a noble Chuji mage. I no longer sleep like a mere mortal. There is now a tragic barrier between myself and common. I caught myself mid-pretentious speech, coughed twice, and changed the subject. Never mind. Go wash up. Lunchtime. Lil covered her mouth, trying not to laugh, and ran off to the bathroom. Hit the magic bell. Lunch appeared. And oh, my God, braised lamb in a deep red sauce, so tender the meat was practically falling apart. Beef noodle soup with thick slabs of beef shank swimming in clear reddish-brown broth, topped with cilantro. Tiger salad, chunky strips of green pepper, cucumber, and cilantro tossed in vinegar and chili oil. Oil-braised prawns with shells split open, showing plump white meat. A whole tiger skin pork knuckle sitting on a plate like a wrinkly brown mountain, wobbling and steaming. And a huge bowl of Westlake beef soup with egg wisps floating in it like silk threads. The smell conquered the entire bar in seconds. Lil hadn't even finished brushing her teeth, and she could already smell it. The dungeon core was already eating its portion somewhere above me, living its best foodie life. Apparently, if it could leave the dungeon, it would have moved to Earth permanently just for the restaurants. Can't blame it. Its taste in food is the one thing about that sneaky, meat-stealing, passive-aggressive entity that I actually respect. Here I was, about to enjoy the most incredible free lunch of my life, completely unaware that somewhere out there, a woman named Hailey was applying lipstick and practicing her come-hither eyes specifically for me. Nobody warned me. This is fine. Everything is fine. Somewhere out in the real world, a whole convoy was rolling out of Blackstone City toward the dark forest. Adventurers, farmers with shovels, wagons pulled by these weird scale-covered cows with unicorn horns, the whole military parade. All because of me. But did I know about any of this? Of course not. I was lying face down on my bar counter wondering what to do with my life. After lunch with Lil, I realized something terrifying. I had absolutely nothing to do. Brewing supplies? Stocked. Maple honey? Got an ocean of it. Quests for monsters? None. Cleaning? Lil had that on lockdown. This woman fled a collapsing empire and channeled all that survival energy into mopping floors and polishing glasses. The bar was cleaner than a hospital. Then it hit me. I'm officially listed as an initial shadow mage on my status panel, and I can't cast a single spell. That's like putting chef on your resume when you can't boil water. Embarrassing doesn't even begin to cover it. I'm going to Saul's Tower to learn magic, I announced dramatically, heading for the door with main character energy. Lil stopped me cold. Boss, please don't bother my ancestor with baby stuff. You can only learn basic universal spells right now. I can teach those. Save the old man for when you actually need shadow magic, right? I keep forgetting that the girl who spends her days squeezing out mops and wiping tables is actually a high-level mage who fought her way out of an entire empire's worth of assassins. Teaching a noob like me is literally beneath her pay grade. Way beneath. Do I need a beginner's wand or spell components or anything? I asked, smoothly closing the door I'd just dramatically opened. Very cool. Very not awkward. Just use the staff my ancestor gave you, Lil said, switching into professor mode so fast I almost expected her to pull out a whiteboard. Casting spells is simple in theory. Channel your inner magic, build the spell pattern inside the staff, release. The hard part is memorizing the spell lines and practicing until your hands don't shake like a nervous chihuahua. She demonstrated the most basic spell, light, raised her index finger, and drew 4 wobbly lines in the air. Fire red traces hung there for a moment, then snapped together into a glowing red ball the size of a fist. The warm red light pushed back all the blue moss glow in the bar. Beautiful. Effortless. Took her about 2 seconds. Mine's red because I'm a fire mage, she explained casually. Yours should be purple since you're shadow type. Then she told me something amazing about wizard staffs. Yes, Good ones boost casting speed and spell power slightly. But the real reason powerful mages carry staffs? It makes you look cool. One glance, and everyone knows you're a noble mage. She tapped the blunt geometric head of my staff, and it made a heavy metallic clunk. Also, when you run out of mana, it's a really solid blunt weapon. My respect for the wizard profession just doubled. Lil also mentioned, I'll eventually need to buy a shadow magic spellbook from Saul, the only source in the entire continent, because he literally invented shadow magic. Every shadow spellbook ever sold came from his tower. According to Lil's dad, the old wizard has made enough money from book sales alone to outspend an entire empire. The man created a magical monopoly thousands of years ago and has been collecting royalties ever since. Wizards are the ultimate passive income bros. When you get stronger, maybe you can negotiate to sell some of those books yourself, Lil suggested. My eyes glazed over imagining the profit margins. Lil had to physically wave her hand in front of my face to snap me out of my capitalist daydream. Practice began. Lil showed me the 4 lines slowly this time. First line curves from upper left to lower right. Second line drops straight down. Third curves the opposite direction to the lower left. Fourth line connects everything into a closed, irregular loop. 3 intersection points where you pause half a second each to let the mana solidify. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. My first attempt. The purple traces wobbled out of my staff like a drunk spider's web and exploded into sparkly confetti. Gone. Nothing. Just sad purple glitter fading into the air. Lil didn't laugh. She's a professional. She calmly listed everything wrong. First stroke, too heavy. Second stroke, your wrist is stiff as a board. Third stroke, you turn too sharp. Fourth stroke, you quit too early. She even grabbed my wrist and guided my hand through the motions once so I could feel the correct rhythm. Patient queen. Total saint. Dealing with my fumbling like a kindergarten teacher watching a 5-year-old try to draw a circle. Attempt after attempt after attempt. The lines got less wobbly. The shape started looking like an actual closed loop instead of abstract art. My intersections started landing in the right spots. Progress was happening, just slowly. After hours of practice, and I mean hours, plural, many of them, I finally cast it. Right before my mana bar hit absolute zero, a pale purple light ball flickered into existence in front of my staff. It was shaky. It was dim. A gentle breeze probably would have popped it like a soap bubble. Compared to Lil's rock-solid, perfectly round, effortlessly glowing red orb, mine looked like a dying firefly having a seizure. But it existed. I made light. With magic. From my hands. Lil, I did it. I'm a genius. Only took me half a day to learn a spell. I stood there with my hands on my hips, chest puffed out, laughing like a mad scientist who just conquered the universe. Lil, who had learned this same spell in roughly 1 hour back in the day, chose not to crush my dreams. True friendship right there. Instead, she just smiled sweetly and said, "Boss is amazing. When are we eating dinner?" Translation. You took 6 times longer than me, and I need comfort food to heal the emotional damage of watching you struggle. But sure, you're a genius. Now feed me. Right now, I declared with a grand wave of my hand, riding the highest high of my entire dungeon career. Boss is wise, Lil cheered. And that's how my first day as a practicing mage ended. Not with a bang, but with a wobbly purple nightlight and a dinner bell. Apparently, the goddess of time had a bad day and decided to fast forward 2.5 days of my life, like skipping a boring part of a TV show. Thanks, lady. Real respectful of my personal timeline. During those skipped days, I ground out enough gold and perfect reviews to upgrade both the brewing room and the main hall at the same time. Scarface showed up in full battle armor, didn't even have time to change after fighting adventurers, and led 30 dragon blood goblins through my bar like a demolition crew on energy drinks. Hammers swinging, chains rattling, walls coming down and going back up. Beautiful chaos. Meanwhile, completely without my knowledge, 2 elite adventurer squads set up a base camp at the edge of the dark forest specifically to find me. The Ocean Squad's leader, this femme fatale named Hailey with red lips and a siren nickname, was so desperate to earn a promotion that she charged straight into the dungeon on day 1 while the Blackstone Squad's leader, some built like a refrigerator shield warrior named Kuma, just kept hammering tent stakes and let her go. Smart man. Let the eager idiot scout first. Highly squad blitzed through 10 floors, got a nice epic dagger drop, felt great about themselves, and then her idiot berserker decided to hack up some mushroom people. For fun. My mushroom people. Rackle the Earth Bear went absolutely nuclear on them and chased the entire squad out of the dungeon looking like they'd been through a blender. Broken bows, dented armor, empty mana bars. Chef's kiss. Mess with my mushroom babies, get the claws. The best part? They never found me because I wasn't even in the dungeon. I spent that entire time standing behind my bar counter practicing light spell over and over like a guy learning to juggle one ball. Got my casting time from 2.5 minutes down to 30 seconds. The purple glow ball still flickers sometimes, but at least it doesn't explode into sad confetti anymore. Progress. The renovations turned out amazing though. Hall is a third bigger. Fits 90 customers now instead of 60. The brewing room expanded enough to hold all my barrels with space to spare. And I bought Lil a proper bed with a nightstand and a cute little moss powder nightlight. 3 gold coins, friendship discount, from Scarface. The girl finally has furniture. She's one upgrade away from having her own actual room. New kitchen running, new wine ready to launch tonight. Bigger hall, bigger brewing room, loyal employee, steady income. Standing behind my expanded counter surveying my little kingdom, I couldn't help but feel proud. My bar is really coming up in the world, I said to nobody in particular. Meanwhile, 2 professional hunter squads are out there specifically trying to catfish me out of the dungeon, and I'm over here grinning about buying a nightstand. Ignorance truly is bliss. 10 more days flew by. The goddess of time must have been watching my life like a Netflix show because things moved fast. My stats are looking less pathetic now. 250 health points, which finally puts me on par with the weakest regular dungeon monsters. Incredible. Truly inspiring. My dodge rate is still 0.0001%, which means I could theoretically dodge something once every million attempts. But my spirit power hit 28 and my mana is at 100, which is apparently comparable to a goblin mage. I have achieved goblin-level magical competence. Put that on my tombstone. I also learned a second spell. Flash. Basically, you squeeze a light ball until it's tiny, yeet it at someone's face, and it explodes like a magical flashbang grenade. Lil made it very clear this is a runaway spell, not a fighting spell. The few seconds of blindness it causes? That's my head start. She knows exactly what kind of mage I am, the kind that runs. Saved up over 1,300 gold coins and 400 perfect reviews too. My little bar is a money printer now. Today was Tide Day, the dungeon's version of a farmer's market, held on floor 80. I grabbed every coin I had and headed down there to go shopping for fancy monster food ingredients and maybe some upgrade materials. Quick update on those 2 adventurer squads hunting for me. They've been grinding through the dungeon for 10 straight days and reached floor 30. Hailey the Siren is apparently throwing daily tantrums about not finding me. The reason they can't find me? I haven't set foot in the dungeon this whole time. I've been standing behind my bar counter practicing magic like a responsible small business owner. They're out there sweating through 30 floors of combat looking for a guy who's been 10 feet from his bed the entire time. Beautiful. Anyway, floor 80. This place is wild. It's an entire ruined imperial capital city. Buildings dozens of stories tall, crumbling white stone everywhere, streets wide enough for 4 carriages side by side, collapsed sky bridges hanging in midair, a palace with half its dome caved in. Post-apocalyptic grandeur. No adventurer has ever been here. They're still stuck at floor 45 where Grizz has been gatekeeping them for decades. The gate guards were 2 hellhounds with glowing red mineral eyes. They scanned my mushroom ring, decided I was legit, and stepped aside without a word. Efficient bouncers. No small talk. Respect. Inside, the streets were packed with monster vendors selling everything imaginable. A skeleton merchant waving a glowing or at some goblins. A fishman slapping his webbed hands on a stone slab displaying pearl necklaces strung on lake weed. Minerals, adventurer loot drops, food ingredients, building materials. It was a monster flea market and I was here for it. Then I spotted the main attraction. Center of the plaza, one massive tent with dark fabric and gold runes stitched along the edges. In front of it stood a hooded figure. Nothing visible except 2 pale silver glowing eyes under the hood. His display table was completely empty, not a single item on it. And yet his line was the longest in the entire market. That's my kind of vendor. When you don't even need to show your merchandise and customers still wrap around the block. That's either the best merchant in the dungeon or the best scam artist. Either way, I got in line. Shopping spree time. My wallet is fat, my ring has storage space, and my menu desperately needs more than one dish. Let's see what mysterious glowing eyes guy is selling. Before heading to floor 80, I asked Scarface where to find upgrade materials. He scratched his chin for like a full minute and basically said, "No clue, boss. We just install whatever the dungeon core gives us." Helpful. Very helpful. Thanks, Scarface. 10 days passed. Hiley's squad and Blackstone squad have been grinding through the dungeon looking for me every single day. They're at floor 30 now. Still haven't found me because I've been chilling at home practicing magic and serving beer. These people are getting paid by a king to find a bartender who's literally never there. Comedy gold. Anyway, Tide Day shopping trip. Floor 80. I walked up to the big mysterious tent in the center plaza, and the hooded figure outside greeted me with the cheeriest voice I've ever heard. "Welcome. I'm Kaler, guard, assistant, doorman, driver, salesman, and pet to the great merchant Lord Lolan. 1 employee. 6 job titles. 1 salary. 3 meals a day. That's it. That's his entire compensation package. If this guy isn't the most exploited worker in dungeon history, I don't know who is. And somehow he's happy about it. Genuinely upbeat. I respect the hustle, but also feel deeply concerned. My monster encyclopedia popped up and told me Kaler's whole backstory. He's a shape-shifting slime. Originally a regular slime that some mad scientist threw into a fusion furnace as a failed experiment. Instead of dying, he spent 49 days eating everything in the furnace, evolved into a unique shape-shifting monster, broke out, and ate his creator as his first act of freedom. Then spent his days pretending to be a doctor, treating patients, failing, and eating them too. Real wholesome origin story. Eventually, he picked a fight with his current boss Lolan, got absolutely destroyed, and has been a loyal servant ever since. The encyclopedia even gave me a little tip. Kaler's so underpaid that I might be able to poach him if I offered a better deal. Every business owner's dream employee. A guy who can literally clone himself to do multiple jobs at once. I filed that information away for later. Inside the tent, space expansion magic. The outside looked like a regular large tent. The inside was a full-blown department store. 10 times bigger, crystal chandeliers, rows and rows of shelves made from iron wood, stone, and translucent crystal. Everything labeled with little wooden price tags. Name, origin, cost. Glowing liquids in crystal jars, stacked minerals, dried meats, weird plant roots, the works. Other customers were already shopping. A rock-armored lizard man was squinting at crystals under the light like a jeweler inspecting diamonds. A floating eyeball monster was using its tentacles to examine a bottle of green bubbly liquid. And a tiny rat man was haggling aggressively with one of Kaler's clones, his squeaky voice bouncing off the tent walls while clone Kaler patiently smiled through the abuse. Professional to the core. Because yes, Kaler can split himself. Multiple Kalers were working the floor simultaneously, all wearing neat linen clothes and warm smiles. Door Kaler wore a cloak. Sales floor Kaler wore business casual. Same guy, different outfits, same underpaid energy. A fresh Kaler clone materialized next to me and politely asked what I needed. I explained I run a tavern for monsters and need ingredients they'd actually enjoy. Then he asked what kinds of monsters I serve, and I just started listing names randomly. Dragon blood goblins, regular goblins, a cyclops, the great wizard Saul, some skeletons. Kaler gently stopped me with one finger wave, somehow making it look elegant instead of condescending, and said, "Sir, that's not how monster classification works. Apparently monsters are divided into 5 categories: humanoid, beast type, plant type, insect type, and fantasy type. Each category likes completely different food. And the universal rule? All monsters prefer food that gives them stat boosts or special effects. Regular tasty food is nice. Food that makes you stronger is chef's kiss." He walked me over to the food ingredients section and picked up a crystal jar containing a fist-sized deep purple snake gallbladder from an ice-wing serpent. Ice mage monsters apparently use these to brew potions that boost their frost magic sensitivity. My brain was already spinning. If I could serve food at my bar that actually gives monsters buffs, that's not just a restaurant. That's a competitive advantage. Nobody's leaving a one-star review when their dinner literally made them more powerful. Kaler held that jar like a sommelier presenting a fine wine, and I stood there taking mental notes like a freshman on the first day of Monster Culinary School. Kaler tried to sell me an 80 gold snake gallbladder first. Bless his heart. I had to gently explain that I'm running a dive bar for goblins, not a Michelin star restaurant for ice wizards. Something cheaper, please. Like, much cheaper. He got the message and walked me through the tent, which by the way is insane inside. Space expansion magic turned a regular tent into a full shopping mall. Crystal chandeliers, rows of shelves made from different materials, potions in every color, minerals taller than me with lava patterns swirling on the surface. And this part was unsettling. An entire shelf of dried, shrunken heads. Human, beast man, monster, just hanging there like Christmas ornaments from hell. I did not ask about the pricing on those. Along the way, I noticed something genuinely wholesome about Kaler. He calls everyone honored customer, not just me. The filthy skeleton miner covered in rock dust? Honored customer, what excellent taste you have. The lowest level gray gremlin, who probably has 3 copper coins to his name? Honored customer, shall I explain this potion's effects? Every single being that walks into this tent gets the VIP treatment. This slime-turned shapeshifter has better customer service skills than 90% of real-world retail workers. Then Kaler stopped in front of a giant stone pool half the size of my bar. It looked like it was full of water. Clear, calm, occasionally rippling. That's not water, Kaler said cheerfully. It was bugs. Millions of transparent worm things called Morton worms. Each one carrying a tiny thread of attribute-free magic power inside its body. My skin crawled looking at all those invisible creepy crawlies squirming around pretending to be a peaceful pond. Here's the deal though. Eating these worms lets any creature slightly boost their stats. Mages get spirit power, warriors get stamina, everyone gets a little something. The catch? The boost is microscopic. A regular mouse had to eat 130,000 of them just to gain 0.1 stamina. Kaler himself would need millions for 0.01 improvement. But, and this is the genius part for my business, customers can feel the magic entering their body while eating. It's like those vitamin supplements that probably don't do anything, but you feel healthier taking them. Placebo effect plus actual micro gains? That's perfect bar food. Monsters would keep ordering just for that tingly magic sensation. Best part, cooking doesn't destroy the magic. Chop them up, make them into meat pies, fry them, whatever, the attribute power stays. 10 copper coins per worm. Dirt cheap. I ordered 20,000. 20 gold coins total. Pocket change compared to my nightly income now. Kaler stared at my gold coins like a recovering addict looking at his drug of choice. His fingers actually twitched toward the money before he yanked his hand back like he'd touched a hot stove. Then he confessed, with zero shame, that his boss banned him from handling cash because he was skimming money as his own unofficial salary. He told me this with the same warm professional smile he uses for everything. This man is unbreakable. Then he took me to the fresh meat section. Stone coolers lined with frost. White mist crawling along the floor, raw meat everywhere. Deep red cuts with thick fat layers, whole rib racks still dripping blood, and some purple scaled meat I couldn't even identify. The customers here were appropriately terrifying. A gray-furred werewolf picking through bloody leg cuts, a massive minotaur squeezing rib bones to test thickness, a leopard monster prowling the aisles like a food critic at a butcher shop. They all glanced at me. A human browsing the monster meat department, shrugged internally, and went back to shopping. In Lolan's store, I'm apparently less interesting than a fresh steak. Kaler pointed at a butchered, pig-looking creature with no eyes. A blind pig. This meat has 0 stat bonuses, he said. It's just really, really delicious. Better tasting than anything else in its weight class. No magical buffs. No stat gains. Just pure flavor. Sometimes simple is exactly what you need. My bar menu was about to get a serious upgrade. While Kaler was pitching me on blind pig meat, I got distracted by the most incredible thing I've ever witnessed in this dungeon. A minotaur, a bull-headed monster, was buying beef. 20 whole cows worth of beef. For his entire tribe. Is there a rule saying bull people can't eat bull meat? He growled when Kaler hesitated. Kaler's head shook so fast it could have generated electricity. No, sir, absolutely not, sir. How many cows did you want, sir? The minotaur held up 3 fingers meaning 20. casual as someone ordering a coffee. I stood there mentally screaming. I asked nobody going to address the cannibalism question, but kept my mouth shut because that dude could snap me like a breadstick. Anyway, blind pig meat. 10 silver coins per pig. 500 pounds each. No magical buffs, no stat boosts. Just really, really tasty meat. Basically the Wagyu beef of the monster world, except it's pork and the pig has no eyeballs. Don't think about that part too hard. I ordered 10. Then my inner business owner kicked in and I started rattling off my construction shopping list. Blackstone 50 pieces, redwood 5 pieces, low-grade animal hides 4 pieces, 1 alchemy pot, 1 alchemy table. The building materials? 5 gold coins total. Easy. The alchemy equipment? Kaler sent a magical silver thread through the air like a text message to his warehouse clone. Moments later, warehouse manager Kaler speed-walked over carrying a thick inventory ledger and pulled out the goods from his own space storage. The alchemy pot was half my height, dark gray metal polished to a mirror finish, with runes carved around the bottom that glowed green automatically. The alchemy table was waist-high stone with metal clips for holding potion bottles and organized drawers underneath. Professional setup. The item descriptions were hilarious though. Both basically said, tired of expensive potions? Become an alchemist. Contact Master Quell for affordable tuition. The alchemy table's blessing section literally read, none. Gods aren't as free as you think. Even the item descriptions have attitude in this world. 300 gold coins for the set. I didn't even flinch. Pack it up. I'll take it. Kaler's handwriting got noticeably messier on his order scroll after that. My rapid-fire purchasing was making him emotional. Then I bought a mountain of plant-based ingredients. Underground ferns, glowing mushrooms, swamp cabbage, purple tubers from the deep floors. For more gold coins. All cheap, all filling, all storable. My menu is about to explode. But then came the real power move. I asked Kaler if they buy stuff too. Because sitting in my ring was an ocean of maple honey that I had absolutely no way to use up in 10 lifetimes. Kaler brought me to the purchasing department, a smaller tent in the back with its own staff of appraiser Kaler clones. A hedgehog person was dumping minerals into evaluation boxes. A barnacle-covered turtle monster was arguing about pearl grades. Standard pawn shop vibes. Appraiser Kaler sat me down, poured me fancy golden tea, and laid out 4 palm-sized black boxes, space-expanded containers, 1 for each quality level of honey. Regular quality, 10 copper per ton. Green quality, 1 silver per ton. Blue quality, 50 silver per ton. Yellow quality, 1 gold per ton. No purchase limit. We'll buy however much you have. He leaned back in his chair looking all relaxed and confident. This particular Kaler had apparently tried to buy honey from the mushroom people before and got turned away. He figured I'd have maybe a barrel or 2 at best. Really? No limit at all, I asked, unable to stop my lips from curling upward. Rest assured, sir, our financial resources are quite substantial. Please, fill the boxes at your leisure. He gestured at those tiny little 50-ton boxes with a serene smile. So confident. So blissfully. Unaware that I'm sitting on tens of thousands of tons of maple honey that an entire civilization of mushroom people spent a millennium accumulating. I could feel my poker face cracking. My mouth was doing that thing again where it tries to grin and I have to fight it. This poor, hard-working, underpaid shape-shifting slime had absolutely no idea what was about to hit his inventory system. Time to break Kaler's brain. I smiled, held my hand over those 4 little 50-ton boxes, and opened the floodgates. 4 waterfalls of honey, gold, blood red, and amber, came pouring out of my ring like I'd turned on a faucet connected to an entire lake. The sweet smell hit the room so hard that a turtle monster across the room stopped arguing about pearl prices, and every barnacle on its shell rotated toward me like little satellite dishes. Even the Kaler clone haggling with it couldn't help sneaking a peek. 4 boxes filled up in seconds. Lids glowed. Lids dimmed. Full. Kaler, these are full. Bring bigger ones, please. I sipped my tea. Casual. Ice cold. Kaler's silver eyes went from mildly surprised to fully round to completely dead inside as I filled box after box after box. He was scrambling to swap empty ones in and stack full ones on the side. The corner of the table turned into a mountain of black boxes. His expression went through all 5 stages of grief and landed on I am requesting a raise tonight or I quit. I stopped when I had about 10 tons of yellow quality honey left in reserve. Gotta keep some for myself, right? Let me calculate the total, Kaler said in the voice of a man whose soul has left his body. He hunched over his ledger doing math for what felt like forever, for different quality levels, different prices per ton, hundreds of tons total. His quill scratched furiously across the parchment. Final number, 75,377 gold coins, 3 silver, 8 copper. 75,000 gold coins. I went from a bartender counting single coins to a guy who could buy a small kingdom. I said yes immediately because I had zero idea if this was a fair price or not. I've only ever sold to Saul, who charges me 60 gold for a seed, so my sense of market value is completely broken. Kaler seemed to read my mind. He dropped the salesman voice and said quietly, I won't cheat you. That power you carry will save you a lot of trouble. In this dungeon, and the price I gave you is the fairest one. Something about how he said it made me believe him. I shook his hand, slightly cool, with a faint jelly-like bounce. Right. Shape-shifting slime. Almost forgot. The coins came in a boring gray cloth pouch that looked like a hobo sack, but contained 75,000 gold coins stacked in perfect rows of 100. I verified with my spirit sense. Every single coin accounted for, then stuffed the whole thing into my ring. I went from comfortable small business owner to secretly one of the richest people in the dungeon in about 15 minutes. All because some mushroom people spent 1,000 years making honey and then gave me all of it. Sales Kaler was still waiting outside the purchasing tent. Same position, same smile, same spot. Hadn't moved 1 inch. This guy's customer service commitment is actually frightening. He took me to see brewing materials next, but admitted he wasn't sure any of them could be used for alcohol. The area was quieter than the rest. Wider aisles, fewer customers, a weird mix of old paper smell, mineral dust, and ozone. Then Kaler stopped at the entrance and said he wasn't allowed inside this section. Interesting. What could possibly be in here that a shape-shifting Lord-rank monster isn't permitted to see? The answer, absurdly expensive collectibles. First thing I saw, a golden dragon scale the size of a serving platter, floating in a crystal display case, edges sharp enough to cut steel, surface glowing with liquid gold light. 100,000 gold coins. My encyclopedia helpfully noted I could theoretically use it to research new alcohol recipes, then added, but you're way too weak right now, so don't bother. Thanks for the encouragement. Then, an eyeball in a crystal sphere. Pure white pupil covered in spinning black runes that appeared to be running some kind of cosmic calculation. This was the eye of the all-knowing, a cursed artifact that gave its previous owner complete knowledge of everything. The guy eventually ripped it out of his own head because knowing everything made him miserable. He wanted to be normal again. 1 million gold coins. The description asked me, do you think this is a curse or a blessing? Deep question for a bar owner shopping for groceries. Everything else in this VIP section was similarly insane. A sealed tree branch for 150,000, a color-shifting rock for 200,000, an ancient parchment with unreadable writing for 80,000. Nothing under 6 figures. These weren't products for sale. This was Lolan showing off his collection like a dragon showing off its hoard. The few other customers in here were just window shoppers like me, wandering around whispering to each other, nobody reaching for their wallets. I wanted to buy something, anything, to research new drinks. But the cheapest item was 100,000 gold. I just made 75,000. Close but not close enough. And my encyclopedia kept reminding me I'm too weak to use any of this stuff anyway. Walked out empty-handed from the fancy section, 75,000 coins richer, but feeling somehow poor. That's what luxury shopping does to you. You walk in feeling like a king and walk out feeling like a peasant who accidentally wandered into the wrong store. At the checkout tent, I witnessed the greatest workplace drama in dungeon history. Cashier Kaler was behind the counter telling a customer, I'm a professional cashier. I would never secretly pocket any coins. Standing right behind him was Supervisor Kaler, arms crossed, eyes locked on Cashier Kaler's fingers like a hawk watching a mouse. You're full of it, Supervisor Kaler snapped. If you don't steal coins, why did the boss assign me to watch you? Cashier Kaler rolled his eyes. It was one time. 5,000 coins. Everyone's overreacting. Overreacting? You ruined it for all of us. We used to get away with skimming 100 coins each time. Now nobody gets anything. Then, while I was still laughing at these two, a group of guard Kailers dragged a robber Kailer out of an employee-only tent. He was screaming, "It was just one coin. One. This man is literally stealing from himself. Every version of him is trying to commit fraud against every other version. It's like watching one person run an entire crime syndicate and the police department simultaneously." On my way out, a butler Kailer in a perfectly tailored gray suit stopped me. Way fancier than the other Kailers, slower walk, straighter spine, actual cufflinks. "Mr. Ivan, our master Lolan would like to speak with you. I've got my invincibility passive protecting me, so why not?" Followed him deeper into the marketplace and got a full tour of Kailer's many jobs along the way. Pack animal Kailer, literally transformed into a scaled beast pulling cargo wagons. Driver Kailer, steering a 4-ox carriage between tents. Waiter Kailer, serving tea to customers in a rest area. Janitor Kailer, mopping muddy footprints. Negotiator Kailer, hunched over contracts with a spiky monster. Security Kailer, transformed into a stone gargoyle guarding a restricted zone. And my personal favorite, criminal Kailer, being physically dragged out by multiple security Kailers while yelling about stealing just one coin. Every single Kailer wore a different name badge. Every single one was a clone of the same underpaid slime. This creature is the entire workforce of a continental megacorporation. One being, every job, 3 meals a day salary. The ultimate exploitation of labor. Butler Kailer brought me to a fancy 2-story stone building covered in carved murals, dragons flying, dwarves hammering, elves dancing, and one cloaked figure surrounded by monsters. Obviously Lolan. Inside was almost empty. Bare walls. No decorations. A few chairs and a stone table. Upstairs I finally met the man himself. Lolan looked shockingly normal. Early 30s, average face, the kind of guy you'd lose in a crowd of 5 people. Neat dark robe, cup of tea, sitting in a big chair like any regular businessman. But behind him, a giant bathtub, more like a small swimming pool, filled with semi-transparent goo that was constantly squirming and popping bubbles. That was Kailer's true body. Just a massive blob of sentient slime chilling in a tub behind his boss's chair. My encyclopedia hit me with both their profiles, and my jaw nearly detached. Lolan isn't a person. He's a god's puppet. Some bored deity up in heaven couldn't come to the mortal world personally, so they created a body called Lolan and piloted it around like a video game character. The god met Kailer, saw a shape-shifting monster that could become an infinite workforce, and thought, "I'm starting a business." Built the greatest trading empire on the continent over 100 years. Then got bored and abandoned the character like someone quitting a mobile game. But here's the twist. After the god stopped controlling the body, a new soul was born inside it. An actual living person named Lolan, trapped in a divine puppet that could be reclaimed and destroyed at any moment. And that terrified person was now looking at me with eyes full of fear and a tiny spark of hope. "Ivan, I'm a soul born inside an abandoned god's body. Every day I live in terror that the god will come back and erase me. But then I sensed you, someone that God is watching. Please, can you help me survive? Even if I have to leave this divine body and become an ordinary person, I want to live. In exchange, I'll give you a purple quality alcohol recipe. I know you've been searching for one. The richest merchant on the continent. The owner of the most powerful trading company in the world. And he was sitting in front of me, begging for help, offering me the one thing I desperately needed. My life just went from bartender trying to make rent to caught in the middle of divine politics in the time it took to buy some eyeless pig meat and transparent worms. Normal Tuesday in the dungeon. Lolan was shaking so hard his teapot was playing percussion on the cup rim. This man, owner of the most powerful trading company on the continent, was terrified that the god who built his body would come back and delete him like an old save file. Look, I told him, the god you're scared of? I know that guy. He's the laziest being in existence. He won't even get up to destroy you. Too much effort. This did not calm Lolan down. He begged me to ask directly. Fine, I'll make the call. I closed my eyes to contact the dungeon core, and Lolan absolutely lost it. What are you doing? You're just going to call a god right here? No magic circle? No offerings? No candles? I have premium divine incense in that cabinet. At least light some incense. He literally sprinted toward a cabinet, tripped on his own robe, and nearly face-planted. This guy runs a continent-spanning megacorporation, but can't walk across his own room without almost dying. I patted his trembling shoulder. Relax. Me and the big guy have a complicated relationship. He responds fast. Lolan sat back down looking like a man waiting for his execution. White knuckles on the armrests. Behind him, Kaler's slime body was bubbling like a pot of nervous soup. I mentally called up the dungeon core with all the ceremony of texting a roommate. Hey, you there? Quick question. This puppet body you made called Lolan, he wants to keep living. You cool with that or what? The core's response was instant and perfectly in character. Lolan's doing fine. Let him keep running the business. Also, I'm playing a video game right now, so stop bothering me. As punishment for interrupting me over something this stupid, you're only allowed to take the recipe as payment. Nothing else. And this message didn't just play in my head. It boomed through the brains of everyone in the room simultaneously. Lolan went from rigid death row inmate to sobbing mess collapsed in his chair in 0 seconds flat. Full ugly cry. Tears everywhere. Sleeve wiping. The whole performance. Kaler's true body, that massive tub of slime, instantly froze. Every bubble popped at once, and then the entire blob shrank into a tiny ball and pressed itself into the farthest corner of the tub like a dog hiding from thunder. Apparently, hearing your creator's voice after thousands of years hits different. Meanwhile, I was mentally calling the dungeon core a cheapskate. One sentence to save this man's life, and you still had to tack on a petty punishment? No extra rewards allowed. Really? You're a cosmic being playing mobile games, and you took time out of your busy schedule to make sure I don't get a bonus? The pettiness is genuinely impressive. After wiping his face, Lolan handed me a silver-white parchment with the composure of someone presenting a presidential pardon. The recipe he'd promised. Phoenix fire. Purple quality ingredients needed. 1 tail feather dropped by a phoenix upon death. 1 newly sprouted branch from the oak tree. Where a phoenix nests. 15 grams of depleted starstream, or 1 flame of phoenix rebirth, and 100 pounds of magical spring water from an elven spring. The brewing process was equally insane. Melt the ore with rebirth fire. Add the feather when it liquefies. Pour in the spring water. Wait for the sound of a phoenix cry. Throw in the oak branch at exactly the right moment. Then ferment in fresh oak barrels for 40 hours. The description casually mentioned. Want to share a drink with the god of rebirth and death? Drink the phoenix fire. Its flames will burn your soul clean and bring you face to face with the divine. So many people tried to meet the god this way that the god of rebirth and death destroyed the recipe, meaning Lolan's copy might be the only one left in the world. And he just handed it to me like a business card. Every single ingredient sounded impossibly rare. Phoenix feather. Phoenix fire. Starstream, Oregon Elven Spring Water. This wasn't a shopping list. It was a quest chain that would take months, maybe years. Lolan promised his entire continent-wide network of purchasing agent Kalers would keep an eye out for the materials. Honestly, having the largest trading company in the world as my personal ingredient sourcing service isn't a bad consolation prize. I folded the recipe carefully and tucked it into my mushroom ring. Somewhere in there, between tens of thousands of gold coins and an ocean of honey, now sat the only surviving copy of a recipe that lets you meet a god. Not bad for a grocery run. After saying goodbye to Lolan, his butler Kaler walked me out the back door. Fun fact, the shop is called Mysterious Shop, inside the dungeon for the spooky vibes, but goes by Lolan Trading Company in the outside world because you can't close business deals with humans when your company sounds like a haunted house attraction. The back streets of this ruined capital were quieter. Fewer vendors, fewer customers, fancier merchandise. High-end crystal cores, special staffs, advanced potions. Rich monster problems. Then I heard something that made my ears perk up. Someone speaking standard Holy Empire common language. Human language. In a dungeon market. On floor 80. Where no adventurer has ever reached. Somebody snuck in. I spotted them. A group of people wrapped head to toe in pitch-black stealth cloaks. The kind of shadow fabric only thieves and assassins wear. You couldn't even see their eyes. They were standing at a rat merchant stall trying to buy magical cassava in broken dungeon speak. What I didn't know, and wouldn't find out until later, was that these were members of the Ocean Squad. The same people sent by the king to kidnap me. They were here shopping on their day off and accidentally bumped into their actual target, just casually sniffing barbecue smoke without a care in the world. Their whispered conversation went something like, "Dude, is that our target? Has to be. Who else walks around floor 80 without any disguise like they own the place? Should we grab him now? Are you insane? Look around. There are Lord-rank monsters shopping for groceries everywhere. Any single one could wipe our entire squad. We're disguised as smugglers right now, not soldiers. But we can respawn if we die. Sure, you can respawn. My 300 gold stealth cloak can't. You get us killed, you're paying for my gear." That shut the eager one up. They memorized my face, height, clothes, ring, and staff like a team of sketch artists, then scattered to different stalls pretending to be normal illegal shoppers. Smart. Cowardly, but smart. I actually thought they were pretty brave for sneaking into floor 80. Almost admired them. If I'd known they were planning to abduct me, I would have blown their cover on the spot and let the surrounding Lord-rank monsters handle the rest. But ignorance is bliss, and I had more interesting things to look at. Like the rat merchant. Oh boy, the rat merchant. His name was Round Fatty, a wood rat sorcerer, Lord rank, about knee-height on me. Deep brown fur with a gold stripe running from head to tail, big round ears, amber eyes full of merchant cunning. He sold magical cassava that boosts earth element affinity, herbal medicines, and his own kind, dried, on sticks, rows and rows of dog-sized dried rats, perfectly arranged on bamboo trays, all posed with their legs in the air and tails curled. Behind him, two intelligent rats were grilling two even bigger rats on iron barbecue racks, brushing them with sauce using their little paws like experienced pit masters. Seasoning jars lined up neatly. Professional operation. My encyclopedia helpfully quoted him. "Oh, my dear customer, these relatives of mine all volunteered to die for the advancement of our species. Please enjoy them without guilt." The smell was incredible, though. Smoky, spicy, meaty. My nose was genuinely interested even. While my brain was screaming, "They're cooking their cousins. This dungeon market is the most ethically confusing place I've ever been." Minotaurs buying beef, rats selling rat jerky, and somewhere behind me, a team of human assassins is memorizing my face while pretending to shop for rocks. Just another normal shopping day on floor 80. Round Fatty, the rat merchant, bounced back from rejection faster than any salesman I've ever seen. 1 second, he was moping about losing those cloaked customers. The next, his enormous amber eyes locked onto me like heat-seeking missiles. "Sir, would you like some cassava? Herbs? Jerky? Barbecue?" I pointed at his grills. "Tell me about the roast rats." His ears shot straight up. Payday was back on the menu. Turns out the two rats on the grill were different species. The chunky one on the left was a strength rat, 50% chance of boosting your stamina by 2 points for 10 minutes after eating. The skinny one on the right was a tracker rat, 50% chance of speed boost. Like protein shakes, but made of someone's cousin. Most of them volunteered to be grilled, Round Fatty explained, scratching his ear with a brief flicker of something complicated in his eyes before snapping right back into salesman mode. And the rest died of natural causes, volunteered to be barbecued. I had so many questions and chose to ask none of them. I bought everything. Both roasted rats, both dried rats. 10 gold coins total. Round Fatty used his little magic wand to slice the jerky into perfectly uniform pieces with a flash of golden light, each cut clean enough to see the meat grain. His two assistant rats wrapped the fresh barbecue in big green leaves tied with vines, paws moving with the confidence of experienced kitchen staff. Then they immediately started grilling vegetables on the empty racks without missing a beat. Employee of the month, both of them. After that, I wandered the main street for another half hour looking for something to bring back for Lil. A gift. Literally anything. A scarf, a hair clip, a cute rock. Nothing. This entire ruined city marketplace sells exclusively practical monster supplies. Weapons, minerals, potions, raw meat. Zero fashion. Zero accessories. Even Lowlands, everything store, had nothing. Kaler doesn't wear accessories. Monsters don't need earrings. The entire economy of floor 80 has zero concept of gifts for girls. I teleported home empty-handed, feeling like a bad boss. Then I heard Lil through the crack in the door before I walked in. She was talking to herself in that soft voice people only use when they think nobody's listening. So bored. I miss home. I miss the grasslands. I wonder if Dad's been feeding my Fendo and brushing its fur. I want to drink Homeland barley milk wine so bad. My heart did a little crack. Boss has been gone for 3 hours. So boring. Then, ding, a Quest notification popped up in my face. Quest, an employee's homesickness. As a boss, can you really stand watching your employee miss her homeland? Can you bear knowing she can't even taste her hometown wine? Perhaps a kind tavern owner should take his employee home for a visit. Requirements. Take Lil home to the Beast Empire. Let her drink 1 cup of barley milk wine. Rewards. Barley milk wine recipe. Attract Beastman customers to the tavern. Increased employee morale. I smacked my own forehead. 3 hours of shopping, and I forgot about the one person holding down the fort. Bought 75,000 gold worth of stuff for myself, and not a single thing for her. World's greatest boss right here, ladies and gentlemen. I pushed open the door. There she was, face down on the bar counter, tail drooping off the stool like a sad furry noodle, fox ears completely flat. The moment she saw me, both ears launched upright, and her tail bounced off the stool. Boss, you're finally back. I should have gone with you. It's so boring alone. Her tail was doing that excited swishing thing. I felt even guiltier. I told her the market had nothing fun. She deflated for exactly 1 second, then perked right back up. Did you at least bring food? I put the roast rat on the table. She recognized it instantly. Roastwood rat. I only tried this once when the Lowland Trading Company visited our capital. It's better than most barbecue I've ever had. She ripped open a piece, shoved it against her nose for a deep inhale, then stuffed it in her mouth. Cheeks puffed out like a chipmunk. Eyes closed in pure bliss. Lil, eat at home. I gotta go see your ancestor real quick. MMPH, so good. Go ahead, boss. I'll save you a piece. She said that with absolutely zero conviction while already reaching for piece number 2. My odds of getting any leftovers were approximately 0%. I headed for Saul's Tower to figure out how to take Lil back to the Beast Empire for a visit. Getting a homesick fox girl across enemy lines to drink nostalgic wine in the middle of a continental war sounded like a terrible plan. But I'm a good boss. Questionable decision maker, but a good boss. I walked into Saul's Tower and casually dropped, "Hey, can you send me to the Beast Empire?" like I was asking for directions to the grocery store. Saul's teacup hit the desk so hard I thought it might crack. The most powerful shadow wizard on the continent, a being who's lived for tens of thousands of years and barely raises an eyebrow at anything, actually raised his voice at me. What? The Beast Empire? Are you insane? There's a war happening. I mean, they haven't been completely wiped out yet, right? Saul stared at me like I'd just asked if the sun was still working. His slit pupils were doing that thing where they get really thin, which I've learned means, I am calculating how stupid you are. He calmed down and explained his real concern. If I got hurt because of something he helped me do, the dungeon core might get angry. And apparently the core used to have a terrible temper before it got lazy. Saul is trying to become a god himself, so angering a supreme deity over one bartender's field trip is not in his 5-year plan. I asked him for a war update. Turns out the fighting is all happening along the coast. Navies clashing in the Coral Sea, ground troops within 100 miles of the shoreline. The Beast Empire's interior is completely untouched because the Holy Empire's supply lines can't reach that far. Stay away from the beach and I'm fine. Easy. How much to open a portal straight to the Beast Empire capital? 100 gold. 100. A demigod-level cross-continental teleportation portal for the price of 2.5 alchemy tables. This man charges 60 gold for a single seed, but teleportation across an entire continent is basically a coupon deal. Wizard economics make 0 sense. He had conditions, though. Tell him why I'm going, don't stay too long, and if I haven't contacted him by 8 p.m., he's yanking me back whether I like it or not. Doesn't matter if I'm mid-conversation, mid-meal, or mid-anything. He'll reach across the continent and drag me home like a parent pulling a kid out of an arcade. Tracking someone with my magic signature on them across the entire continent is trivial for a demigod mage, he said, sipping tea with an expression that made it clear this was not a suggestion. Fair enough. I told him the truth. Lil's homesick. I want to see the Beast Empire, maybe buy a local wine recipe. Simple tourist stuff. He agreed. Tomorrow morning, after the bar closes tonight. Back at the tavern, Lil was perched on her bar stool nibbling roast rat with greasy fingers and a crumb on her lip. She'd clearly been eating the entire time I was gone. My saved piece was probably already digesting. Lil, after closing tonight, change your clothes. Your ancestor is opening a portal to the Beast Empire tomorrow. We can stay until 8 p.m., then we gotta come back. She froze. Rat meat hovering in front of her open mouth. Ears straight up. White ear tufts trembling. Crumb still stuck to her face. Huh? I repeated myself. Slower this time. Her reaction went from confused to nuclear joy in about 2 seconds. Boss, you are the greatest boss in the entire world. Then she slammed the rat meat onto a plate, wiped her mouth on her apron, and started thumping her chest with her fist like she was making a sacred oath. I'm definitely coming back with you. Back home I have to study all day, and my dad makes me do government paperwork. Here I just clean the bar and hang out with my ancestor whenever I want. And no way am I staying home. Her tail was going absolutely ballistic behind her, swinging back and forth so fast, it was basically a blur of red fur. She looked happier than I'd ever seen her. I also told her she could stay in the Beast Empire if she wanted. Gave her the option. She rejected it so fast, she didn't even let me finish the sentence. Apparently, no homework and unlimited grandpa visits beats princess life with political responsibilities every single time. Tomorrow we're crossing a continent in the middle of a war so my employee can drink some nostalgic milk wine and pet whatever a Findo is. My life has gotten very weird very fast. The moment I told Lil she could go home, she transformed into a cleaning tornado, abandoned her half-eaten rat meat mid-bite, grabbed the mop, and started attacking a floor that was already clean enough to perform surgery on. Her tail was spinning like a helicopter blade. Her ears were vibrating. She looked like a dog that just heard the word, walk. Lil, the floor is literally a mirror already, don't care. Need to do something with my hands. Can't argue with that energy. I let her mop the same spot for the 15th time and turned my attention to upgrades. I had the materials, the money, and the reviews to build both the beginner potion brewing room and the VIP booth section. Only one more upgrade after that, the cultivation room, and my trash tier bar graduates to level 1. Grizz showed up personally this time to lead the construction crew. Fresh bloodstains on his chest armor, clean work clothes underneath. The duality of a dragon blood goblin middle manager, kills adventurers in the morning, does home renovations in the afternoon. He greeted me with a bear hug, then turned to Lil and performed the most perfect gentleman's bow I've ever seen from a creature with fangs. She curtsied back with her mop still in hand. These two have more manners than most humans I've known. Over roast rat and maple fruit wine, Grizz dropped a wild fact. Dragon blood goblins have 0 mages. Not one. The dragon blood gave them incredible physical power, but completely locked them out of magic. They've been holding off adventurer parties for over a decade on pure muscle alone. Their magic resistance is high enough that even mage squads can't steamroll them. Honestly impressive. A whole warrior race running a decades-long defense with no spellcasters. Then something subtle happened that I didn't notice at the time. While we were chatting and eating, an incredibly faint trace of ice magic attached itself to Grizz. So tiny, it was like a single snowflake melting into his bloodstream. Before anyone could see it. A seed. If Grizz trains hard enough and eats the right stat-boosting foods, he might one day become the first dragon blood goblin ice mage in history. But nobody in that room knew it yet. Grizz had to bolt mid-conversation. The adventurers he'd killed that morning came back with reinforcements and a Lord rank mage this time. He drained his wine, slammed the cup down, and marched out with his entire crew like a general heading to war. The upgrades looked great though. VIP booths along the wall with actual animal hide cushioning. No more sitting on raw wood planks. The potion room was connected to the kitchen with its own plumbing and ventilation, ready for the alchemy equipment. After everyone left, Lil started orbiting me like a restless satellite. Can you take me to Grizz's floor? Please. I'm so bored. I'm invincible in the dungeon. You are not. One hit, and you're injured. And then your great-grandfather turns me into a spell component. I literally had to push her face away from mine. She pouted, ears drooped, tail stopped wagging, for about 4 seconds. Then she bounced right back and kept circling me like a shark that smells blood, trying to figure out a new angle of persuasion. Tomorrow can't come fast enough. For both of us. Lil circled me like a vulture for a few minutes, then suddenly got that light bulb look. Ears up, eyes sparkling, tail reactivated. She yelled, "Wait here, and sprinted out of the bar so fast her clothes were flapping behind her like a cape. "Slow down. You're gonna trip. You sound just like my dad," she shouted back, her voice getting swallowed by the teleport stairs. "Like her dad? I'm 26. Sure, I haven't shaved in a while and I've survived bankruptcy, a slave contract, and nearly getting stabbed by a gremlin, but I don't look that old. Do I?" I touched my stubble and made a mental note to find a razor before tonight. 20 minutes later, she came barreling back holding a dark purple necklace like it was a golden ticket to Willy Wonka's factory. Boss, I got my ancestor to give me a protection necklace. If anything attacks me, it activates a demigod-level shield that covers my entire body for 30 minutes. Now can you take me to Grizz's floor?" She just asked for it, walked into Saul's tower, said, "Grandpa, I want demigod armor," and he handed it over like it was a candy bar. This necklace would be a priceless legendary artifact that top-tier adventurers couldn't buy with their entire life savings. She got it in 20 minutes because she's the favorite grandchild. Nepotism is alive and thriving in the dungeon. I swallowed my jealousy and said fine. She said she was ready to go immediately, then changed her mind and asked for 5 minutes to change clothes. Classic. 5 minutes later, and I'll give her credit, it was exactly 5 minutes. She came down the stairs looking like an actual mage for the first time since I'd met her. Fire-red silk robes with flame patterns flowing across the fabric. Pointy red witch hat with a cheeky little backward bend at the tip. 2 necklaces glowing at her collar, green and purple. Fox ears poking through custom holes in the hat. Tail sticking out through a tailored opening in the back of the robe. And a staff about 5 feet long topped with a tennis ball-sized red crystal swirling with fire magic. She looked cool. She looked powerful. She looked like someone who could burn down a city. But something about how she held that staff bugged me. I couldn't figure out what. We headed out together. I grabbed my own dark purple staff, which I can use for exactly 2 spells, both of which are basically flashlights, and tried to look the part. Hoodie, sweatpants, sneakers, and a demigod-crafted shadow staff. Urban wizard chic. Surprisingly, it kind of worked. On the way, Lil was bouncing with excitement. I can't wait to see how adventurers attack the dungeon. I hope I can help Grizz fight them. Wait, you want to help the monsters fight the humans? Obviously. Grizz is our friend. And those are Holy Empire adventurers, not Beastman ones. Everyone in the Beast Empire knows I'm the most loyal friend there is. Can't argue with that logic. Foxgirl Princess chooses monster friendship over species solidarity. Respect. Then her character sheet appeared in my vision, and I nearly choked on my own spit. Lil, 16 years old. Long Princess of the Beast Empire. High-level Fire Mage. Gold rank Adventurer. Health, 150,000. Mine is 250. Attack power, 11,000. Minus 5. Her skill list read like a military academy transcript. Sword Master, Mace Master, Battle Axe Master, Mid-level Battlefield Commander, Advanced Court Etiquette, Food Critic, Wine Sommelier. Plus like 15 fire spells ranging from basic fireballs to something called Meteor Fire Rain. But the real kicker was the evaluation note at the bottom, when this seemingly delicate Beastman girl puts on battle armor and uses her staff as a mace for close combat. You'll understand how terrifying this fully trained Imperial Princess truly is. Don't worry. She's merciful enough to leave your corpse intact, and the friendly tip, rather than trading spells at range. Lil prefers to personally ride a war beast and smash enemies' skulls with a mace. That's why her staff grip looked wrong. She wasn't holding a magical implement. She was holding a club. The exact same grip I'd seen in Kingdom Come Deliverance when Henry swings a mace. This girl's idea of being a mage is running up to you on a giant animal and caving your head in with a stick that happens to have a magic crystal on top. My employee, the one who mops my floors, polishes my glasses, and gets excited about roast rat, is a walking apocalypse who could solo my entire customer base before her morning tea gets cold. And she wants to go pick fights with adventurers. For fun. Lil, if you go out there and start melee fighting people, I swear I'll. The teleporter activated and drowned out my thread in a wall of humming noise. Sorry, boss, didn't catch that. She shouted with the most deliberately innocent grin I've ever seen on a face capable of 11,000 attack damage. She heard me perfectly. She just chose violence. The second the teleport light faded, Lil ripped her hand out of mine and bolted toward the sounds of combat like a greyhound chasing a rabbit. Her red robes were streaming behind her, witch hat bouncing, tail flying like a war banner. I'd been holding her wrist the whole teleport specifically to prevent this. She'd clearly been planning her escape for the entire trip. I gave up chasing her immediately. She's got 150,000 health points and a demigod shield necklace. I've got 250 health and the athletic ability of an office chair. Some battles you don't fight. I found myself standing in the Dragon Blood Goblin base camp. Log walls with sharpened tips, beast-hide tents, weapon racks everywhere. Notchier greeted me looking like he'd just been through a blender, fresh scratches on his armor, a broken arrowhead still embedded in his shoulder. He'd literally been punched through the camp wall by an enemy warrior and left a goblin-shaped hole in the fence. That's not even embarrassing at this point. That's just Tuesday for these guys. He warned me this battle was serious. 2 Lord-rank warriors and 2 high-level mage adventurers. The worst lineup they'd faced in years. Then he told me to grab Lil and run if things went south, because they could all respawn, but we couldn't. Sweet of him. Then he tripped over a tree root running back to battle. I climbed the wall to watch, and what I saw was absolute chaos. Bodies everywhere, adventurers cut in half, goblins with burn marks, dead war wolves surrounded by arrows. Grizz was in the center fighting both. Lord-rank warriors simultaneously with his battle axe, deflecting a frost-enchanted greatsword with one swing and dodging a holy light shield bash in the same motion. The only reason he hadn't already won was 2 mage adventurers pelting him with ice spikes and magic missiles from the sidelines. Then I spotted Lil. She was riding a stray war wolf she'd apparently tamed in the 30 seconds since arriving. Gray fur, broken reins, probably belonged to a dead goblin. She was charging directly at the 2 mages. Along the way, every adventurer in her path got their skull caved in by her staff. No magic, no spells. Just pure arm strength swinging a crystal-tipped stick into people's heads like a baseball bat. Helmets crumpled like tin cans. I heard collarbones snapping from the wall. Other adventurers saw this and quietly stepped aside to let her through. Smart move. The mage named Kyron saw her stats on his scanner, and his face went white. She's a high-level mage? Her numbers are insane. One Grizz was already barely manageable. His buddy Air was equally panicked. The people who hired us said, just hold off, Grizz. Nobody mentioned a Beastman battle mage. Air decided to cut his losses and started. Recording with a magic crystal, figured the intelligence about a mystery high-level Beastman on floor 45 was worth more than actually winning the fight. Grizz saw Lil and nearly dropped his axe from shock. That 1 second of distraction cost him. The greatsword warrior carved a gash from his left shoulder to his right ribs, freezing blood into red ice crystals midair. The shield warrior slammed holy light into his side. But Grizz's wounds started closing immediately, flesh knitting back together like it was nothing. Lil reached Kyron. He raised his staff defensively, ice runes glowing. She smashed through his frost shield like it was a soap bubble, smashed through his staff's defense runes, then smashed through his actual skull. 1 hit. The evaluation was right. She leaves a complete corpse. Technically. What the? He went down in 1 hit. Is she a mage or a berserker? Her panel says mage. Who filled out this character sheet? I want to file a complaint. That was Air screaming while still recording. His outrage was cut short when Lil rode up and smashed his head too. The recording crystal fell from his dead hand and got crushed under her wolf's paw. No evidence. No survivors. No complaints department. Seeing that the 2 mage supports were gone, Grizz stopped playing around. He went from controlled defense to maximum violence in 1 heartbeat. His axe spun once, blood flicked off in a perfect arc. Then he accelerated to twice his previous speed. Axeback knocked the shield aside. Axeblade split the great swordsman from collarbone to sternum. Then a horizontal swing cut the shield warrior clean in half before the guy could even lift his shield back up. Grizz stomped on the great swordsman's health potion, shattering it, then took his head off. While casually executing 2 Lord-rank warriors, Grizz thought to himself, good thing Lil isn't as weak as her boss. Otherwise I'd have had to protect her too. Even my friends roast me. In their internal monologue. During combat, the remaining adventurers panicked. Blue teleport pillars started popping up everywhere as people used their return stones to escape. but Scarface had already flanked them with a squad, cutting off the retreat. Notch Ear blocked the exit with his greatsword. Anyone too slow, out of return stones, or too cheap to buy one got cut down. When it was over, everybody on the field, goblin and human alike, dissolved into light particles that sank into the earth, flowing down to the dungeon's resurrection pool. The goblins left nothing behind because their gear is soul-bound. The adventurers left everything: broken swords, shattered shields, rings, coins, scrolls, scattered papers from someone's pocket. A battlefield covered in loot and not a single enemy left standing. My 16-year-old employee just committed a war crime with a stick, and she's probably going to ask me for dinner when we get home. Let me tell you about my glorious contribution to the Battle of Floor 45. I stood on the camp wall, raised my staff like a proper war mage, and launched 2 flash spells at a pair of rogue adventurers fighting Scarface below. The first one actually hit a rogue, blinded him perfectly. Career highlight. The second one curved like a drunk boomerang and exploded directly in the middle of a group of dragon blood goblins who were on my side. 6 friendly goblins started cursing and rubbing their eyes while still blindly swinging their weapons at everything nearby. Fortunately, they're built like tanks, so a few extra hits didn't kill them, but I could hear very specific profanity aimed in my general direction. Final scoreboard: Ivan, 1 enemy blinded, 6 allies blinded. Friendly fire ratio, 86%. Military genius. Grizz later told me, very politely, that his left eye was still blurry from my spell, and could I please work on my aim. I coughed and promised to practice. I did not make eye contact. Meanwhile, Lil's scoreboard: 5 skulls cracked during her cavalry charge, 2 high-level mages deleted, 8 more adventurers hunted down during cleanup. Total, 15 kills. Weapon of choice: A. Magic staff, used exclusively as a club. 0 spells cast. She was counting on her fingers afterward, looking genuinely happy. Blood splattered all over her robes, which hat crooked, complaining that her dad should have let her be a knight instead of a mage. When the dust settled, the goblins piled up all the loot dropped by dead adventurers. Weapons on the left, armor in the middle, trinkets and potions on a piece of animal hide. Dead goblins had already respawned and walked out of base camp to help clean up. Their gear is soulbound, so nothing drops when they die. Adventurers lose everything. Grizz told us to take whatever we wanted. Lil immediately grabbed a greatsword that was taller than she was, threw it over her shoulder, rode up to me on her stolen wolf, and asked, "Boss, am I cool or what?" So cool. I gave her a thumbs up. What else do you say to a blood-covered teenager holding a door-sized sword? I know, right? She rode off to tell Grizz she wanted the sword so she could personally slice enemies apart next time. Grizz was delighted, called her a kindred spirit, offered to spar sometime. These two are going to be terrifying together. Grizz tried to get me to take real loot: enchanted swords, nearly new plate armor, fire damage weapons. I turned everything down. I don't fight. What am I going to do? We're full plate armor to serve beer. Instead, I picked 2 things that nobody else wanted. First, a tiny crystal vial of silver liquid called Forest of Elves. It's a knockoff of real elven moonlight spring water. Restores 20,000 HP and 40,000 MP in one gulp. Way beyond what I'd ever need for healing. But the encyclopedia hinted it could substitute for elf-related ingredients in alcohol recipes. That's what I'm talking about. Second, a half-dead plant in a wooden box called fluorescent grass. It's the base ingredient for healing potions, and every alchemy guild in the world has monopolized the supply. You can only buy dead versions on the market, but this one still had a tiny spark of life left. And here's the kicker: it reproduces asexually. Save this one plant, and I'd have unlimited fluorescent grass forever. The encyclopedia even suggested I could brew glowing alcohol with it. Glowing beer. Let that sink in. Grizz looked at my 2 tiny picks and basically said, "Dude, there's a flaming sword right there, and you chose a plant and a perfume bottle? A man of war would never understand a man of business." But the grass was dying fast, so I grabbed Lil and teleported straight to floor 18, the Mushroom People's maple forest. If anyone could resurrect a plant on its deathbed, it was those little garden wizards. They grew magical seeds from scratch. 1 sick houseplant should be nothing. Lil gasped at the golden red forest. "Boss, this place is beautiful." Yeah, sightseeing later, plan emergency now. I rushed toward the mushroom village holding my dying grass like a paramedic carrying a patient into the ER. But when I found my little mushroom buddies, things got complicated. We teleported to floor 18 and every single mushroom person immediately ran away from us screaming, "Mushroom, mushroom," like we were the plague. Tiny, legs pumping, little shovels flying, caps bouncing. Some dove into mushroom houses, some hid behind trees. One literally jumped into a freshly dug hole. These guys had an emergency evacuation plan, and they nailed the execution. Lil gave me the most suspicious look I've ever received. "Boss, did you bully them?" "Excuse me?" "They gave me a legendary ring. Why would I bully them?" "It was obviously those stupid adventurers." "Then I'm glad I crushed those adventurers' skulls." Lil's hand tightened on her staff, and she looked ready to teleport back to floor 45 for round 2. Thankfully, one brave mushroom person peeked out from behind a tree, recognized my dungeon core scent, and squeaked the all clear. They came creeping back, from behind houses, from under trees, from inside holes, verified I wasn't an adventurer, and erupted into happy bouncing. Then they all turned and stared at Lil like, "Who's the red lady?" One particularly brave little guy waddled up to Lil's tail, touched the white tip with one tiny round hand, yanked it back, touched it again, then just full-on hugged the entire tail and buried his face in the fur. Lil melted instantly. She crouched down very gently and shook his hand, which she described as feeling like a ball of fresh bread. Dough. Within minutes, there was a queue of mushroom people waiting for their turn to sit on Lil's lap and get their caps squeezed. Each cap made a tiny poof poof sound when squished. The one on her lap had its eyes closed in pure bliss, little legs dangling and swinging happily. Lil was in absolute heaven. Then Rackle appeared behind us with zero sound. 3-meter bear, silent as a ghost. Nearly gave me a heart attack. Lil's hand shot to her staff, ready to fight. Rackle explained his stealth. "If I make noise, I can't sneak up on the mushroom people to use them as napkins." They've gotten smart, though. Now they post guards when they sleep. Little sentinels standing watch in rotating shifts. Can't grab a single one anymore. This bear has been waging a secret napkin war against mushroom people for years and is losing. "I love this dungeon." I explained the fluorescent grass situation. Rackle translated for the head mushroom person, who thought about it very seriously. Chin on hand, cap tilted, eyes blinking. Then crossed both arms over his chest and said no. "He says it's not edible. It's ugly. The leaves are too skinny, and they only like growing things with big sweet fruit. Doesn't meet their aesthetic standards." Aesthetic standards. These 2-inch gardeners have aesthetic standards. They rejected my dying plant because it wasn't pretty enough. I came here expecting a hero's welcome and instead got rejected by the world's smallest art critics. The good news, they agreed to save the plant, just not grow it themselves. I'd have to take it home and plant it in my own space. Fair compromise from beings who apparently have strong opinions about leaf width. The head mushroom person took my dying grass, ran it to their nursery, a little plot under a maple stump where they'd already sprouted the honey grass and hope tree seeds, and came back 5 minutes later with the plant looking like it had just returned from a luxury spa. Leaves uncurled, color shifted from sickly yellow to vibrant green, fluorescent glow restored. The little guy handed it back with both hands on his hips, cap pointed high, looking extremely pleased with himself. "He says he's amazing, and it was no big deal," Rackle translated. Tiny flex. Respect. Then Rackle told me something that made my blood simmer. The reason the mushroom people ran from us. A berserker adventurer recently killed several of them. Rackle's bear clan chased the party away, but barely managed it. The team was strong enough to reach floor 30 at minimum. And they might come back. My brain started spinning. If I could bring Grizz and some dragon blood goblins to floor 18 as reinforcements, any adventurer dumb enough to touch my mushroom babies would walk into a buzzsaw. "Can monsters move between floors?" I asked Rackle. "Normally no, but you can teleport freely and bring people with you. So honestly, I have no idea what rules apply to you anymore." Fair point. The normal rules gave up on me weeks ago. I told Rackle I was going to try something. If it worked, I'd bring him serious backup. Anyone who touches the mushroom people should be prepared to get stuck on this floor forever. Rackle's golden bear eyes flickered with hope. "Whatever happens, our clan won't forget this." The head mushroom person caught us whispering and started yanking on Rackle's belly fur, demanding to know what we were plying. "Mushroom, mushroom, Translation. Tell me the secret. I gave his cap one last grateful squeeze and headed out with Lil, the revived fluorescent grass, safely stored in my ring. My brewing room is about to get a glowing new roommate, and floor 18 might be getting some very angry goblin security guards. Nobody hurts my mushroom babies and gets away with it. Lil didn't even let me finish my sentence before volunteering. I'm coming. I've been stuck in that bar for 10 days, and I'm losing my mind. Wherever you go, I go. Her witch hat was crooked. Her eyes were blazing. There was no negotiating with this woman. I packed 4 barrels of maple fruit wine, some rat jerky, and 2 whole blind pigs into my ring, because when you're asking a legendary ice mage for a favor, you don't show up empty-handed, and teleported us to floor 49. Except floor 49 looked completely wrong. Last time I was here, it was a frozen wasteland. Now it was a beautiful, endless green grassland with snowflakes gently falling from the sky. Same giant ice structure in the distance, same floor number on the teleport menu. I was very confused. Lil was not confused. Lil was in tourist mode. Wow, look at that building. And the grassland. And snow? How is there snow and grass? I yelled for Ragem, and within seconds heard the heavy rhythmic womp womp of massive wings. The twin-headed ice dragon Ohm came diving from the top of the giant structure with Ragem, the twin-headed, one-eyed per head giant mage, standing on his back like a surfboard. Lil completely lost her princess composure. Boss, look. A 2-headed dragon. I haven't seen a real dragon since they all disappeared. This is the best day ever, Lil. You are a princess. Please act like you've seen things before. Stop being like my dad. She literally shook my hand off her head. Ragem floated down on an ice platform, smooth, dignified, the picture of a legendary mage. Then his other head, Ram, ruined everything. Yes, Ram, am incredible. It shrieked with its one eye bulging like a squeezed stress ball. Ragem sighed and reintroduced them. I'm Ragem, the main controller. This one is Ram. He's not well. Last time you visited, I'd given him a logic puzzle that crashed his brain, so he was quiet. He's figured it out now and is back to being uncontrollable. Ram spotted Lil and screamed, "Fox," then immediately got distracted by Ohm's tail. Meanwhile, Lil had already used her animal taming skills to befriend Ohm, standing on tiptoes petting his nose bridge while both dragon heads purred like enormous scaly cats. I explained the situation. Mushroom people attacked by adventurers. Bears can barely hold the line. Need a legendary level deterrent on floor 18. Ram heard, go to another floor, and went absolutely nuclear with excitement. Yes, go. All I see here is grass and snow and nothing. I want out. Take me anywhere. Ragem, being the sensible head, suggested I ask the dungeon core first. Breaking floor assignment rules is kind of a big deal. Good call. I mentally dialed the core. Fine. One time only. Figure it out yourself next time. And Ragem can only stay until you get back from the Beast Empire tomorrow. The core sounded genuinely angry, which was new. Turns out, and I found this out later, the core was in the middle of a tabletop RPG session and its healer teammate let the core's character die to the boss. That's why it was grumpy. An omnipotent dungeon deity was raging at a video game. My life is ridiculous. Ragem agreed immediately. Turns out he's been stuck staring at the same scenery for centuries and was also desperate for a change. He just has more dignity than Ram about expressing it. Then came the most absurd teleportation formation in dungeon history. I grabbed Lil's hand. Ragem pinched the back of my shirt collar with 2 massive fingers. And Ohm, an entire dragon, delicately hooked one claw onto my other sleeve like a shy kid holding onto a parent's jacket. One human, one foxgirl mage, one twin-headed cyclops wizard, one twin-headed ice dragon, all connected to me like the world's most dangerous conga line, holding onto a guy in a hoodie and sneakers. The teleport fired, and we all landed on floor 18. I just delivered a legendary rank ice mage and a twin-headed dragon as security guards for a village of 2-inch mushroom people. If those adventurers come back, they're going to have the worst day of their entire respawning lives. The instant we landed on floor 18, Ram tried to destroy it. Ragem, I love this place. Let's cover everything in a blizzard. He was waving his staff around like a lunatic, one wild eye scanning the maple forest and lake with the enthusiasm of a toddler who just discovered matches. Rajam wrestled control of their shared body back and shut him down immediately. Ram, this is not our floor. If you do anything stupid, the dungeon core will erase your memories. I'll be quiet, Rajam. Very quiet. Please don't let anyone erase me. Ram zipped his lips so fast you could almost hear the sound effect. Fear of brain wiping. The only thing that works on this maniac. Oh, and the mystery of floor 49's missing snow? Solved. Rajam casually explained he'd gotten bored of looking at green grass for centuries, so he cast a continent-sized blizzard to redecorate. Just changed the entire biome because he was tired of the color scheme. Legendary mage problems. Rackle nearly had a stroke when he saw our reinforcements. His bare eyes went dinner plate wide when the twin-headed ice dragon landed behind me. His damaged ear was twitching uncontrollably. Ivan, you're a genius. With these guys here, I'll beat the adventurers so hard there. He made a squishing gesture with his paws. I got the picture. Housing was the only issue. Rackle had already built shelter for guests. The Bear Clan works fast, but was roughly the size of a building. Rajam waved it off. Sleeps outdoors. Back home, he sleeps on the tower roof. He's fine. Both dragon heads nodded in perfect sync. Then both turned to stare at the lake with matching curious expressions. Mirror image dragon fascination. Adorable and terrifying. Then Ram spotted the mushroom people and lost his entire mind. Rajam, look. Little fairies. Can we take some home? I want to pet one. Ram, lower your voice. You're scaring them. Ram actually listened for once. Meanwhile, the mushroom people had completely evacuated again. Every single one vanished into houses, behind trees, into holes. Rajam and Om's attempt at a friendly smile made things catastrophically worse. Rajam looked constipated. Ram showed every crooked tooth he owned, and pulled back both sets of dragon lips to reveal fangs longer than daggers. The mushroom people who'd been cautiously peeking out dove back into hiding. It took Lil offering unlimited tail-petting sessions, Rackle lying on his back as a mushroom trampoline, and me personally repeating, "They won't eat you," about 40 times before the little guys finally accepted that these terrifying newcomers were bodyguards, not predators. The head mushroom person's question, diplomatically translated by Rackle, he's asking if these uniquely looking individuals will eat mushroom people. Rackle had clearly censored the original wording. Probably for the best. I left them supplies under the crooked maple tree, 2 barrels of maple fruit wine, bags of rat jerky, 2 whole blind pigs, and said goodbye. Rackle was already planning a bonfire feast. Rajam promised to guard the floor like his own tower. Ram yelled, "Ram will help too," from behind his brother's head. Getting Lil to leave was the real challenge. She desperately wanted to stay for the bonfire party. Her ears had perked up the moment Rackle mentioned roasting blind pig. Gently nudged her shoulder with his dragon nose, inviting her to stay. The temptation was real. She turned back for one longing look at the bonfire preparations, tail drooping with regret. "Lil, you can stay if you want. I can handle the bar alone tonight." "No, it's fine, boss." Her voice was tragic. Heroic sacrifice energy. Noble self-denial. Then she finished her sentence. "Because the Dungeon Core's dinner tonight is going to be way better than a bonfire." Her entire mood flipped like a switch. Eyes bright, tail wagging, zero sadness remaining. She didn't choose me over the party. She chose the Core's 5-star free dinner over outdoor barbecue. Roast blind pig versus whatever gourmet masterpiece the Dungeon Core's personal chefs were cooking tonight. The pig never stood a chance. My employees' loyalty can be bought with food. And honestly, same. Got back to the bar at 7 with less than an hour before opening. Lil changed out of her battle robes because they were, covered in human blood. Not great for customer-facing work. Dinner was insane. The Dungeon Core outdid itself tonight. Braised bear paw, flying dragon stewed with mushrooms, red braised deer ribs, smashed cucumber. Salad, boiled water cabbage, which sounds boring but is actually one of the hardest Chinese dishes to make, and premium wuchang rice. Here's the thing though, I didn't know it was bear paw and flying dragon. The Core literally created these animals from scratch using divine power, kept all the delicious qualities, and removed anything unpleasant like gamey smell. Then it hired actual state banquet chefs from Earth's government kitchen to cook them. Price, 50 kilograms of gold. For the Core, that's pocket change. The chefs had no idea what they were really cooking because the Core used a confusion spell, They thought the bear paw was a pig trotter. The head chef even told his apprentice, "Great quality pork knuckle today, extra collagen." I sat there eating what I thought was chicken stew, wondering why it tasted a million times better than any chicken I'd ever had back home. The meat was finer, sweeter, more complex. Must be a regional recipe, I thought, completely wrong about everything. Lil was gnawing on bear paw with her cheeks puffed out like a hamster, asking if people on Earth eat like this every day. Lil, this bear paw? Protected species back home. Illegal to eat. And that chicken stew? Also can't get it. The fancy cabbage soup? Sure, but only at expensive restaurants. Realistically, I could afford the cucumber salad and maybe the deer ribs on a regular basis. But you can eat them sometimes. I want to visit your world so bad. Trust me, you don't. 8 a.m. clock in, 10 p.m. clock out. Weekends on call, checking menu prices before ordering anything nice. No free gourmet meals appearing on your counter every day. Boss, if you're human, why do you have to work like cattle? Just eat your bear paw, Lil. The core, meanwhile, was watching a TV drama on its virtual screen while eating the same dishes, marveling at what a bargain 50 kilos of gold was for state banquet quality food. This being literally has an interdimensional DoorDash arrangement with Earth's most exclusive kitchen and considers it a steal. Opening time. First customers tonight weren't my usual goblins or skeletons. They were bear gremlins. Bigger than regular gremlins, built like miniature bears, carrying mining pickaxes, and apparently running a slave operation where they force regular gremlins to mine for them. Charming clientele. Their leader Ball slapped a fat bag of gold on the counter and ordered drinks and food for everyone. I debuted my new menu items. Charcoal grilled Morton worm skewers and charcoal grilled blind pig skewers, 10 sticks per gold coin. The Morton worms turned from transparent to milky white on the grill, sizzling with tiny oil bubbles. The blind pig meat got the maple honey glaze treatment, amber caramel crust, perfectly charred edges. The cumin and smoke smell filled the entire bar. While serving them, I overheard the most wild business conversation. Ball was explaining to his buddies how he'd met an adventurer who speaks monster language, and instead of fighting, they started trading. The adventurer buys all their mind or at way higher prices than the dungeon core pays. These bear gremlins were essentially building an underground black market, cutting out the dungeon core's middleman pricing to sell directly to human adventurers. They were toasting to their new smuggling enterprise, I in my bar, clinking glasses of blackweed ale, splattering sticky beer everywhere, wiping it with their sleeves, zero shame. Lil and I exchanged identical, "What is happening?" looks. These monsters are running a tax evasion scheme against a literal god, and they're celebrating it over barbecue skewers at my establishment. But the core apparently doesn't care. No divine lightning bolt. No angry voice. As long as basic dungeon rules aren't broken, the monsters can freelance all they want. The core is too busy watching Korean dramas and eating state banquet food to micromanage its economy. Couldn't dwell on the Gremlin Mafia meeting, though. The bar was packed. Dragon blood goblins filing in like clockwork, Soren bringing new skeleton. Miners to the vaporizers, slimy fish people squeezing into corner seats for maple fruit wine, and some monsters I recognized from the Tide Day market. Lil was weaving through the crowd with a loaded tray, tail dodging legs, and chairs like a furry rudder. I was sprinting between kitchen and counter, apron coated in charcoal dust and spice powder, occasionally jumping to help Lil operate the vaporizers. 2 employees. 90-seat bar. Full house. No breaks. The gremlin smuggling ring gossip would have to wait. We had beer to pour and worms to grill. Right before closing time, 5 wind wolves pushed open the door with their noses and patted in on silent paws. Silver gray fur, bigger than normal wolves, gorgeous tails. My encyclopedia called them the perfect pet. No shedding, no smell, high IQ. Basically luxury dogs with wind magic. The alpha ordered 5 pork chops and 5 maple fruit wines. I served everything on the table in fancy glasses and plates like I do for everyone else. 5 wolves sat there staring up at the table in complete silence. Ears drooping, looking at each other, looking at the high glasses, looking at their paws. Finally, the alpha spoke up very politely. "Boss, could you maybe put these in bowls? On the floor? We can't exactly sit at the table and use cups." My brain, oh, right, they're wolves. They don't have hands. I swapped everything into wide, shallow bowls and low plates, laid them on the floor with napkins underneath, and watched 4 wolves pin their pork. Chops down with their front paws, tear into the meat sideways, then all look up simultaneously to lick maple honey crumbs off their snouts, tails wagging in perfect unison. I kept telling myself these were customers, not pets. The tail wagging made it very difficult. Their money came from the most hilarious origin story. A newbie adventurer brought only 2 equally weak friends into the dungeon. One fell into a pit the wolves had dug, and the pack just threw bodies at the other 2 until everyone was dead. Tactical genius through sheer dumb luck and a hole in the ground. The alpha strutted out like a war hero, his pack following single file. I watched them struggle to push the door open with their noses and made a mental note to install a pet flap. Sorry, a beast-type customer access portal. After closing, I dumped my soul fire into 1 stamina point and 1 spirit point. Stats creeping up. Still pathetic. Moving on. Neither Lil nor I could sleep. She was too excited about going home. I was too busy imagining what the Beast Empire looked like. Tent cities? Stone castles? Some weird fantasy hybrid? My brain wouldn't shut up. Morning came. Washed up. Ate breakfast. Teleported to Saul's tower. The old wizard was waiting, but something was off. He wasn't wearing his usual purple robes, just casual dark clothes. And his face was serious. Not mildly concerned, serious. Actually serious. He handed me 2 things. A squirming cloth bag full of something alive. I could see tiny bumps crawling against the fabric. Bugs. Worms. I chose not to ask. And a tiny purple marble with swirling dark magic inside. Probably a surveillance orb. Give both of these to Lil's father, Redmond Goldtail. Make sure he eats whatever is in that bag raw. Not cooked. Raw. Watch him eat it yourself. Tell him I will be watching. The most powerful shadow mage on the continent was using me as a delivery boy for a bag of mystery bugs and a threat. I took both items with a completely straight face and stored them in my ring. Some things you just don't question. Lil said goodbye to her ancestor with maximum granddaughter energy, hugging, pouting, promising to visit more. Saul called her out immediately. You've been in the dungeon for weeks and only visited me twice. Once when you arrived and once to beg for that protection necklace. You don't want to keep me company. You just want to stay far from your father and have fun. Lil turned beet red. Busted. Saul raised his staff, drew a purple arc, and tore open a portal. On the other side, endless grassland. Knee-high grass rolling in waves. Snow-capped mountains in the distance. The smell of earth and green things flooding through the opening. We stepped through. Lil's ears shot up the instant the wind from her homeland touched them. Her tail went into overdrive. Her green dress fluttered in the breeze. She was home, and waiting on the other side was a tall, muscular man with golden lion mane hair, amber eyes identical to Lil's, red-brown fox ears, and a thick golden-brown foxtail. King Redmond Goldtail himself, in battle dress with a fox-engraved sword at his hip, boots covered in grass stains, 20 wolf cavalry guards behind him. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. The second Lil stepped out of the portal, every trace of worry evaporated from his face. He sprinted forward and scooped her up in a bear hug, so tight, she started slapping his back. Dad, you're crushing me, she was laughing while yelling. He was holding on like she might disappear again. And there I stood, hoodie, sneakers, shadow staff, bag of mystery bugs in my magic ring, watching a king squeeze his teenage daughter on an alien grassland, wondering exactly how I ended up as the chaperone on this interdimensional family reunion. At least the view was nice. We stepped through the portal and Lil's dad was already there waiting. A huge golden-haired foxman king with 20 wolf cavalry guards, looking like he hadn't slept since his daughter disappeared. The second Lil appeared, every wrinkle of worry on his face vanished, and he sprinted over like a linebacker, scooped her up, and squeezed her so hard she started whacking his back yelling, "Dad, you're killing me." Then he saw me, and his tail dropped like someone flipped a switch. I could practically read the thought bubble over his head. Who is this suspicious human male standing next to my baby girl? Lil happily explained that I rescued her, gave her a job, and feed her amazing food every day. Every word made her dad's eye twitch harder. In his mind, my daughter lives and works with a young human man, translated directly to threat level maximum. He scanned me with some kind of detection skill, and I could almost hear his internal monologue. Beginner mage. Weird clothes. Dangerously handsome. Way too suspicious. He's definitely here to steal my little girl. She's not even 18 yet. I must stop this. I extended my hand for a handshake. He just stared at it, like I was offering him a live grenade. Lil finally noticed her dad being rude. She grabbed his arm and went full princess mode. Dad. Shake his hand. He feeds me food better than anything our palace chefs make. If you're mean to him and he stops feeding me, I will never speak to you again. That did it. Redmond snapped back to reality, grabbed my hand, threw his arm around my shoulder, and immediately started calling me brother. Big smile. Best friends. Total 180. Except I noticed what he was doing. By calling me brother, he was making himself my equal, which meant Lil was my niece. He was trying to uncle zone me in the first 30 seconds. First tactical move in his anti-boyfriend defense strategy. This man is a military genius. Then Saul's voice drifted through the still open portal behind us, and Redmond nearly jumped out of his armor. Redmond, you brat. Calm down. You can't call Ivan brother because he's my friend, which makes him your senior. Also, his safety is the top priority. If he gets hurt, your entire empire has no reason to exist. And I gave him a personal task regarding you, so don't even think about weaseling out of it. I'll come do it myself if I have to. Every word was delivered in Saul's trademark lazy tone, but the threat was crystal clear. Redmond slapped his fist to his chest in a military salute and swore on his entire royal bloodline to protect me. Guys, please stop. You're gonna jinx me. I was perfectly safe before you started promising to die for me. Saul ignored me and dropped one final bomb. Oh, and Lil is going back to the dungeon with Ivan tonight. She owes him a debt for saving her life. Redmond's face went through about 7 emotions in 1 second. Wait, old ancestor. The portal snapped shut in his face mid-sentence. The king of the beast empire stood on the grassland, staring at the empty air where his great ancestor had just told him his daughter was leaving again, and took the deepest breath I've ever seen a living being take. Then he packed away his heartbroken father face, put on his regal king face, and told everyone to mount up. There was a wolf for me, a beautiful deep gray riding wolf with amber eyes. It looked at me. I looked at it. 3 seconds of mutual assessment. The wolf decided I was hopeless. It was correct. I cannot ride horses. I definitely cannot ride wolves. The captain of the royal guard, a giant silent man who said 0 words, just reached down, grabbed me by the arm, and hauled me onto the back of his wolf like I was a sack of potatoes. I spent the entire ride to the capital city sitting sideways behind a stranger, gripping his belt straps for dear life, bouncing around like a rag doll on a galloping predator. Lil rode alongside me on her own wolf, completely natural, laughing so hard her ears were shaking and her tail was going in circles. Redmond was up ahead smiling too. Everyone was having a wonderful time watching me suffer. First impressions with the king of an entire empire. He thinks I'm trying to date his daughter. His ancestor threatened him on my behalf, and I can't ride the most basic form of transportation in his kingdom. Nailed it. Riding a war wolf is actually pretty smooth, if you ignore the fact that I was sitting sideways behind a stranger clinging to his belt like a terrified koala. But the view? Incredible. Endless grassland stretching to the horizon, grass bending in the wind to reveal hidden flocks of white sheep with spiral horns and brown cattle with little birds napping on their backs. Wind blows, grass bends, cattle and sheep appear. I'd read that poem in school. Never thought I'd actually live it on an alien planet riding a giant wolf. The road to the capital was packed with beast men of every flavor. Wolf ears, cow tails, round bear ears. Most of them were leading these armored donkey-unicorn hybrids that made thunderous braying sounds you could feel in your chest cavity. Terrifying pack animals. 0 stars on the noise rating. Closer to the city, Beastman adventurers started showing up. Warriors with curved swords, archers, mages buying street food in their robes. Their mounts ranged from wolves to scaled donkeys to things I had no name for. All heading to the Beastman version of the Adventurers Association, which is apparently run by a demigod, not just legendary adventurers like the human one. Casual power gap. Through the city gates, first thing I saw, a 13-meter, 700-ton bronze statue of Seul right in the central plaza. My business partner. My tea buddy. The guy who charges me 60 gold for seeds. Standing there immortalized in metal, looking wise and mysterious, holding his palm up like he's presenting invisible merchandise. Which, knowing him, he probably would be. The whole city had this rugged, ancient, heavy feeling. Giant, unpolished, gray stone walls, thick thatched roofs, black iron door reinforcements, tiny sturdy windows with wildflowers on the sills. Completely different from Riverside City's delicate flower-carved architecture. This place looked like it was built to survive 1,000 sieges and didn't care about looking pretty doing it. Behind the statue stood a massive cylindrical building, 30-plus meters tall, covered in relief carvings, flying a golden flag with a crossed-worn knife and staff. The staff on the flag looked exactly like the one Saul gave me. Same shape, same geometric head. I'm apparently carrying around a national symbol as my personal flashlight wand. Then Redmond started trying to impress me. Ivan, this statue weighs 700 tons. We had to use hardening magic on the foundation so it wouldn't sink into the earth. He was practically puffing his chest out. His wolf puffed up too. Synchronized pride display. So Ivan, how does our capital compare to the Holy Empires? Never been there actually. You've never, but you're human. I'm not from this world, Redmond. That you're not from, wait. There are no other human nations. Unless you're from another world entirely. Congratulations, you figured it out. He didn't even flinch at the interdimensional revelation. Instead, he doubled down. Then how does our capital compare to your homeland's capital? This man was trying to win a comparison contest against Earth. Against skyscrapers and highways and subway systems and electric lighting. Redmond, you're comparing a medieval stone city to a modern metropolis. I'm telling you this as a friend. Don't go down this road. It will only cause pain. He took that surprisingly well, but he wasn't done competing. Fine, but Lil said your world's food is better than ours. That I refuse to accept. Our Beastman cuisine is excellent. You don't need me to judge that. Lil's been eating gourmet food every day for weeks. She can give your palace chef's notes. Lil, who was currently leaning off her wolf trying to grab a red fruit from a street vendor's stall. The old vendor just smiled and handed it to her, because apparently the whole city is used to their princess stealing snacks. Heard her name and immediately puffed up. Dad, I can absolutely improve your kitchen. I've eaten things you can't even imagine. Redmond looked at his daughter, looked at me, and let out the heaviest sigh I've ever heard a king produce. His entire competitive spirit deflated like a punctured balloon. He'd lost the architecture comparison, lost the city comparison, was about to lose the food comparison, and his daughter was more loyal to my cooking than to his entire kingdom. The wolf trotted forward. The golden lion mane hair blew in the wind. The king said nothing. Being a dad is suffering. The royal palace was exactly what you'd expect from a civilization of warrior beast people. Massive gray stone walls covered in carved battle scenes, wolf-riding soldiers, dancing fox girls, and some enormous horned beast whose antlers stretched across multiple stone blocks like the world's most aggressive mural. Guards in bronze armor lined the entrance. The moment Redmond's wolf approached, every single one punched their chest in unison. Clang. Synchronized intimidation. Very cool. Slightly terrifying. Inside was an open courtyard already set up for a full royal banquet. Long tables everywhere, packed with beastman nobles, wolf heads, cow horns, fox ears, bear ears, all wearing fancy ceremonial outfits. The tables were loaded with sizzling roast meat, bubbling stew pots, and cups overflowing with golden ale and deep red fruit wine. This wasn't a casual welcome lunch. This was a production. I got seated at Redmond's right hand, the VIP spot reserved for the most honored guest. My dishes were silver while everyone else had iron. My cup was crystal while everyone else had clay. My napkin had an extra fold. They really rolled out every piece of their best tableware for the weird human in sneakers. Redmond stood up, raised his glass, and gave a speech. 2 things to celebrate. First, my daughter Lil is home safe. Second, we have a special guest, Ivan, friend of our ancestor Saul, the man who rescued Lil from Riverside City. Dozens of glasses shot into the air. I stood up, raised my fancy crystal cup, took a sip. Golden wheat ale, bitter first, then a sweet finish. Not bad at all. The food was excellent. Whole roasted lamb legs, herb-salted slow-braised beef, sizzling fish steaks, mystery vegetable stews, thin-sliced cured red meat. Lil was simultaneously eating her own food, narrating every dish for me, and stealing the crispiest pieces off my plate with surgical precision. Then Redmond poured me a cup of the legendary milk barley wine, the drink Lil had been crying about in the bar. Milky white, slightly thinner than actual milk, tiny foam on top, smelling like yogurt mixed with honey. One sip, and wow, smooth, tangy sweet, barely feels like alcohol, leaves a faint barley aftertaste. More like drinking fancy fermented yogurt than actual wine. I genuinely liked it. Redmond's face lit up when I said it was good. Then he made his move. I heard you have a fruit wine that rivals our barley wine. Could we perhaps taste it? I hadn't brought any. Getting some would mean bothering Saul. I tried to decline. Then some loudmouth general, a guy called Battering Ram Dalal, apparently, stood up and started rallying the crowd. Come on, Ivan, don't hold out on us. Let's compare Dungeon Monster wine to Beastman wine. Who's with me? The entire military section of the nobility erupted in cheers. Peer pressure at a royal banquet. Wonderful. Fine, I said. I'll figure something out. Redmond was the first person to realize what was about to happen. I could see his brain rebooting in real time behind those amber eyes. Ivan doesn't have teleportation magic. The only person who can help him get wine is, oh no, the ancestor, who just told me to take care of Ivan. And now my own nobles are pressuring his friend. The ancestor is going to kill me. He lunged forward, trying to stop me. Too late. I'd already pulled out Saul's communication orb. Calling Saul. Small favor needed. Please respond. Every noble in the courtyard watched me casually say the name of their civilization's founder and only demigod into a little purple marble like I was ordering takeout. The whispers started immediately. Did he just say? Sedul, the ancestor who's been in seclusion in the dark forest for thousands of years. That's all. If the ancestor finds out we pressured his friend, are we dead? Should we run? The front lines might be safer than this. Who started this? Who yelled first? Dalal. That idiot. He's finally going to get himself killed. The civilian officials were already smirking into their cups. The military boys are finished, one muttered with visible satisfaction. A palm-sized portal appeared in front of me. Saul's voice came through, dripping with barely contained fury. What is it? Did that idiot Redmond fail to take care of you properly? No. Everything's fine. The nobles here heard I run a tavern and want to try my maple fruit wine. I just didn't bring any. Could you send 2 barrels through? The tiny portal exploded to full human height. Every noble in the courtyard found themselves staring directly into the eyes of their demigod ancestor. Eyes that were not happy. Good, Saul said. Each, good, colder than the last. Nobles, how very good of you. Wait right there while I personally fetch the wine. The portal snapped shut. Absolute. Dead. Silence. Every face in the courtyard looked like they'd just received a terminal diagnosis. The military officers who'd been cheering moments ago sat frozen with their cups halfway to their mouths. Dalal the battering ram looked like a man watching his entire career flash before his eyes. The civilian officials, who had wisely not joined the cheering, were trying very hard not to smile. One took a slow, deliberate sip of his wine with the smuggest expression I've ever seen on a coward bureaucrat. Redmond sat in his chair with the energy of a man who has accepted his fate. His golden hair hung limp. His foxtail was completely still. His daughter was happily chewing lamb next to him, completely unbothered. All I wanted was to share some wine. Instead, I accidentally triggered a political crisis and summoned an angry demigod to personally terrorize an entire aristocracy. Normal Tuesday. The entire nobility of the Beast Empire turned into terrified puppies the moment Saul's portal closed. Every single one of them, generals, ministers, clan leaders, slowly rotated their heads toward Redmond like sunflowers tracking a very depressing sun. Surely the king could save them from his own ancestor, right? Redmond was slumped in his throne looking like a man who'd already written his will. One hand dangling off the armrest, the other holding a wine cup he hadn't touched. Eyes staring into the void. His daughter was literally stealing food off his plate, and he didn't even notice. Total system shut down. The wolf nobleman Stidway, who'd started the whole "make him get the wine" chant, looked like his soul had already left his body. Wolf ears flat against his skull, tail dragging on the ground, gradually trying to slide underneath the table without anyone noticing. Meanwhile, the only two people completely unbothered were me and Lil. I was sipping barley milk wine and eating lamb. Lil was in a full combat scenario with her younger siblings over the last piece of roast meat. She had one hand pinning the plate, the other stabbing with a fork while tiny princes and princesses jumped around her trying to steal it. She won, stuffed it in her mouth, cheeks bulging, and wagged her tail at them in victory. This girl's competitive spirit applies to everything. The Prime Minister, a shaky old bear man, suggested Redmond go beg Saul for mercy. Redmond's response was basically, your mess, your funeral. His logic was beautiful. Stidway started it. Redmond only failed to stop it. So at worst he'd get a slap on the wrist. Survival instincts of a true politician. Lil tried to help. You guys are overreacting. Grandpa's not that mean. Just eat and relax. She said this with her mouth completely full, cheeks like a hamster, ears perky, tail swishing. 0% effective. Nobody was reassured by the teenager who gets demigod necklaces on demand. Eventually, all eyes landed on me. Their one and only hope. Ivan, please, talk to the ancestor for us. I'll send Stidway to the most dangerous part of the front lines right now. Stidway was already halfway under the table nodding frantically. Yes, send me to war. Anywhere. Just please ask the ancestor to spare us. I looked at this room full of grown adults, warriors, generals, rulers of an empire, begging me, a bartender in sneakers, to save them from an angry grandpa. I couldn't help myself. Seriously, how do you people run an entire empire with this level of intelligence? Redmond blinked. What do you mean by that? Saul is mad, sure. But he's not going to kill his own people over some wine peer pressure. This started because of me, so he'll ask him my opinion before doing anything. And I'm not going to ask him to. Murder Lil's family. I need her to keep working at my bar. Relief spread across the room like a wave. Shoulders dropped. Tail started wagging again. One general exhaled so hard he fogged up his own cup. Stidway, I need something to plant my fluorescent grass in. Good soil, planters, whatever. Nothing fancy, just practical. Get me that in 30 minutes, and we're even. Stidway launched out of his chair like he'd been ejected. Ears went from flat to fully vertical in 1/10 of a second. Tail shot up. 30 minutes. On it. 20 minutes. 15. He crashed through the door, almost flattening a waiter. And seconds later, I could hear him screaming orders outside with the energy of a man reborn. Then Saul's portal opened again. He was standing in his study with 2 barrels of maple fruit wine at his feet. I toasted him through the portal. He smiled, said he'd love to try new wine next time. Then his eyes swept across the nobles. Every spine in the room went ramrod straight. All of you useless excuses for leaders. Eating, drinking, and fighting, that's all you're good for. Even little Lil is more useful than the lot of you combined. His punishment, 2 months of NO meat and mandatory memorization of the entire Imperial Legal Code. Inspectors would come to test them. Anyone who failed would be dragged to his wizard tower for personal tutoring until he was satisfied. Every noble nodded like a bobblehead in an earthquake. The one sitting next to Stidway's empty chair nodded extra hard on his behalf. Take care of Ivan and Lil. I'm coming personally tonight to pick them up. If anything goes wrong, none of you need to exist anymore. Portal closed. Snap. The entire aristocracy melted onto the floor like ice cream in July. The Prime Minister wiped cold sweat off his face with both bare paws. Redmond drained his entire cup of barley wine in one gulp and exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for 10 minutes. Thank you, Ivan. Whatever you need. Anything. Name it. I didn't hesitate. 1 copy of your barley milk wine recipe. And 200 of your tastiest livestock, butchered and ready to go. Redmond looked like I'd asked for a glass of water. That's it. Done. We have these cattle called Shiha milk cows. The meat tastes like it was marinated in cream. I'll give you 500 cows. For free. Because I told an angry wizard not to kill anyone. Stidway came back in 28 minutes with everything I needed for my grass planters, sweating like he'd run a marathon, looking like the happiest man alive because he was still alive. Best shopping trip ever. After the nobles filed out and the servants were dismissed, it was just me, Redmond, Lil, and a silver plate. Lil refused to leave because she wanted to watch whatever was about to happen while continuing to eat. Smart girl. She knew entertainment was coming. Redmond was pumped, practically glowing. A task from the ancestor? For me? I'm ready. I spent 3 years as his assistant. You know, he puffs up his chest every time he mentions those 3 years. Apparently, it's his greatest achievement. He brings it up at every party after enough drinks. Today he was sober and still bragging about it. Redmond, you might be celebrating a little early. I placed the silver plate in front of him. Then I set Saul's purple surveillance orb right across from his face. The orb trembled. A thin purple light rose from it, and a tiny eye, an exact miniature replica of Saul's slit pupil eye, materialized floating above the marble. It blinked at Redmond. Slowly, deliberately, like a cat watching prey walk into a trap. Redmond didn't notice. He was too busy being excited. Are you ready, Redmond? Born ready. I pulled the squirming bag out of my ring and placed it on the silver plate. It landed with a soft thump. Things were visibly crawling inside the fabric. Moving bumps. Tiny scratching sounds. Saul's task is simple. Eat everything in this bag. Raw. No cooking. Redmond's face slowly formed a question mark. He looked at the bag. Looked at me. Looked at Lil, who was biting her lip so hard her fox ears were vibrating. Looked at the tiny purple eye, which blinked at him again, slower this time, like a very deliberate warning. Then this man, this king, asked the most important question of his life. Lil, what did you eat while you were escaping to Riverside City? Brilliant deduction. He figured it out instantly. Saul was making him eat everything his daughter had to survive on during her escape from the Holy Empire. Punishment for letting her get captured in the first place? Empathy training? Pure sadistic entertainment? Probably all three. Lil tilted her head and started listing. Oh, lots of stuff. Stink rats, slippery lizards, needle-mouthed fish, Morton worms. Ate the most of those since they were easiest to find. They taste like pee when they're raw, though, slightly better cooked. Oh, and also, every time she named something, the purple eye dispensed a fresh batch of that exact creature directly onto Redmond's plate. Morton worms squirming, slippery lizards crawling on top of the worms, stink rats sitting on the lizards, needle-mouthed fish flopping around opening and closing their weird little mouths. A living food pyramid of nightmares. And Lil kept going. She was clearly making some of it up at this point. Every new food she mentioned, the eye spat out more of it. The pile on Redmond's plate reached half a meter tall. A wriggling, squirming, stinking tower of everything disgusting in the wild. Lil, please stop. Give your dad a break. You keep going, and he'll be eating this stuff for a month. She'd been about to invent more items. I could see it in her eyes. This girl was weaponizing her tragic backstory for comedy, and she was not ready to stop. The purple eye stopped dispensing creatures and instead slowly pushed out a tiny paper note. Written in elegant script, eat everything raw. I will be watching, Redmond. Redmond gulped. Audibly. Looked at me. I shrugged. Looked at Lil. She suddenly found her roast meat extremely interesting and wouldn't make eye contact, tail swishing innocently. No help coming. No escape. One tiny purple eye recording everything for a demigod's viewing pleasure. Redmond picked up a fork, stabbed a Morton worm the size of his middle finger. The transparent worm twisted and squirmed on the prongs, glistening wetly in the lamplight. He stared at it for several long seconds, then shoved it in his mouth. Crunch, crunch. The sound of a worm being chewed was like someone gnawing on wet rubber. I felt my own stomach flip. My chair mysteriously slid half an inch backward. My untouched lamb leg got quietly pushed to the far side of the table. But here's the thing. Redmond is a warrior king. After that first horrible bite, something switched inside him. He found his old survival instincts from his youth, when he'd camped in the wilderness eating whatever crawled past. His expression went from disgust to calm to determined, and he started shoveling worms into his mouth like a competitive eater. Fork. Stab. Mouth. Crunch, crunch. Swallow. Repeat. Lil went from pretending not to watch to openly staring with dinner plate eyes. The purple surveillance eye recorded everything without blinking. I sat there with my stomach doing backflips, knowing that the image of transparent worms popping between royal teeth would haunt me for the rest of my life. 30 worms down. Redmond wiped translucent worm juice off his chin with his sleeve and let out a burp that sounded like a war drum. I genuinely wanted to give this man a standing ovation. Absolute legend. Real man behavior. Then I looked at the rest of the plate, the lizards, the rats, the fish, and decided to save my applause for when he was actually finished. Long road ahead, Your Majesty. I sat and watched Redmond go through his insect-eating punishment like some cold-blooded warrior king. And honestly, I was amazed. The guy gnawed on Morton's worms with no expression on his face. 3 whole packets. 30 finger-sized worms in a packet. Each bite made this horrible crunching, slurping sound that sent goosebumps all over my head. By the 3rd bag, I'd already scooted my chair back half a meter. Self-preservation, you know? But then that little purple ball, Saul's remote surveillance eyeball thing, suddenly stopped Redmond from grabbing more. I thought, oh nice, the old ancestors showing mercy. Nope. The ball spat out a 4th bag of worms onto the silver plate with a heavy thud, blinked its creepy dark purple eye at Redmond, and basically said, keep going, idiot. That's when Redmond finally cracked. Ancestor, are you seriously sitting over there watching me eat these? His voice had that special kind of exhaustion you only get after being force-fed 4 bags of worms. And that's when I found out the truth. This absolute fraud had been using magic to block his taste buds and sense of smell the entire time. No wonder he ate 3 bags without flinching. Back on Earth, Bear Grylls eats 1 bug, and his whole face crumples like a used napkin. But here's Redmond acting tougher than Bear Grylls? Yeah, I mentally took back every ounce of respect I'd given him and replaced it with pure contempt. Saul's voice came through the purple ball, cold as ice. Pull that stun again, and I'll amplify your taste and smell 100 times. And make you eat worms for a month. Redmond's ears flattened against his head like a puppy who just got caught peeing on the carpet. But the real killer? Lil. My girl Lil put down her fork, tilted her head with this innocent angel face and asked, Daddy, didn't you always say beast folk must be honest, brave, and clever? So I did. You lied to me, great ancestor, and Boss Ivan. Her face said, sweet little girl. Her eyes said, I'm about to destroy you and enjoy every second of it. Redmond tried to recover. He did this fake cough. Ahem. Actually, sweetie, that was a demonstration. A negative example. Now watch your brilliant father conquer these worms for real. Lil's response? She whipped out a recording crystal from her necklace, pointed it at Redmond, and said with a completely straight face, Got it, Dad. I'll record everything so I can study your heroic technique. Actually, my little brothers and sisters should see this too. I'll show all of them. The look on Redmond's face when he saw that recording crystal. I thought the man's soul was going to leave his body. He pointed at Lil, his lips flapping open and shut like a fish, and when she held the crystal higher, he just gave up, pulled his finger back, defeated. He managed to glare her into putting the crystal away, but the damage was done. Then came the real eating, without magic cheating this time. And oh boy, what a difference. His whole face scrunched up like someone squeezed a tangerine into a ball, golden hair framing a crumpled mess of suffering. The first 3 bags took him minutes. This 1 bag, over 10 minutes, and he was only halfway through. Every chew was followed by a dry heave. Chew heave. Chew heave. The worms apparently tasted like a cocktail of fish guts, something that smelled suspiciously like pee and rotting garbage, all detonating in his mouth at once. Just listening to it made my own stomach do backflips. When he finally finished the last worm, he threw that fork down like it personally offended him. The purple eyeball blinked 1 final time, retreated into the ball, and the whole thing turned back into an ordinary crystal and floated. Back to my hand. All the other punishment foods, the stink rats, slippery lizards, pointy-mouthed fish, fizzled away like soap bubbles. Punishment over. My job done. Thank God, because I was about 2 heaves away from sympathy vomiting. Redmond, eyes glistening with actual tears, grabbed his milk wine and chugged 3 massive gulps trying to wash away the taste. 3 gulps, and he said the pea flavor only faded a little. Then, and this is what kills me about royalty, the man wiped his face, turned to me with a perfectly composed smile and asked, So, Boss Ivan, any other plans? The speed of that emotional recovery deserves an award. I told him I wanted to explore the city and look for brewing ingredients. He offered to arrange a guide and guards since he had state business to handle. Lil immediately shot her hand up. I'm going too. I don't want to stay in the palace. Her tail was wagging so fast behind her it could have powered a windmill. Redmond gave her the dad stare. Promise me you won't pull another stunt. Last time you snuck off to the front lines, personally led a charge, and got yourself captured by the Holy Empire. Wait, that's how she got captured? I'd assumed the Beastfolk Empire messed up and let her get snatched. She literally charged into enemy lines herself? This girl is absolutely insane. I promise, Daddy. I'll be good. Also, I never want to eat Morton worms again, Lil said, raising one hand in a pledge while blasting Redmond with maximum puppy dog eyes. He ignored the cuteness offensive and turned to me. Boss Ivan, please keep an eye on this girl. I can't go with you, but I'll arrange everything. Don't worry, King Redmond. If she runs off, I simply won't bring her back to the dungeon. For some reason, when Redmond heard that threat, I caught a flicker of something in his eyes, like part of him was actually hoping Lil would misbehave so she'd stay here instead. He shook it off and went to arrange our escort. And just like that, I was about to go sightseeing in the beastfolk capital with a princess who once got captured because she thought leading a cavalry charge sounded fun. What could possibly go wrong? First stop on my royal tour of the beastfolk capital, Monster Loot Street. Located on the west side of the city, right behind the Adventurers Association, and apparently the second most happening place in town after the Palace Square. Now, Monster Loot Street sounds pretty cool until you realize half the vendors are straight-up scammers. We're talking regular animal bones being sold as dragon fangs, cheap potions poured into fancy bottles, and, my personal favorite, some genius painted a river rock with glow-in-the-dark powder and was telling newbie adventurers it was premium gold or from Dungeon Floor 80. The audacity. Redmond hooked me up with a pretty serious escort, for guards and a guide. The guard captain? A legendary rank mounted rider adventurer. The other three were lord rank. Basically, I was rolling through the market with the beastfolk equivalent of a Secret Service detail. Good thing, too, because we hadn't been on the street for 30 seconds before the guard captain's hand shot out beside me and grabbed some tiny dude right out of thin air. This little guy's fingers were literally 2 inches away from my mushroom ring. I felt nothing. Zero awareness. My combat instincts are basically a sleeping cat. Buddy, the captain said, dangling this miniature thief in the air. You didn't notice our 4 elite guards? And you still try to pickpocket? The thief, who looked like a human child but definitely wasn't, just kicked his short legs in the air like an angry toddler, his leather armor flapping with every swing. Boss Ivan, don't worry, this isn't a human kid. He's a halfling from the Teslo Hills up northeast. Check out those feet. The captain held him up and pointed at the halfling's bare feet. Size 38. Furry. On a body the size of a 12-year-old. The proportions were absolutely cursed. The halfling was wearing gray leather armor that matched the walls. Sneaky little chameleon. With a dagger on one hip that was basically a short sword at his scale and colorful potion bottles on the other. Why are you trying to rob me? I asked. I've literally never met a halfling before, his response. He tried to spit on me. You Holy Empire scum. Not a single good one among you. And you beast folk are working with them. One of my guards, the Bear Tribe Shield Warrior, casually tugged me aside so the loogie sailed right past. Smooth. Sir Halfling, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I just look like a Holy Empire person. I'm actually from the Dark Dungeon. Name's Ivan. I run a tavern down there. You should come by for a drink sometime. He scanned me head to toe with the most contemptuous look I've ever received from someone dangling 3 feet off the ground. You? A beginner shadow mage? Running a tavern in the dungeon? You think I'm stupid? What qualifies you, your pretty face or your wild imagination? My connections, obviously. What else would it be? And honestly, that wasn't even a brag anymore. Outside of the dungeon core itself, I genuinely might have the best network in the entire dungeon at this point. You can't fool Sam Took. Yeah, this halfling was going nowhere. I told the guards to cuff him and drag him along while I shopped. And then, the find of the day. Buried in some farmer's sad little spread of worthless rocks and dried-up herbs, I spotted it. A palm-sized brownish scale sitting on a piece of rough cloth, looking completely out of place. Earth Dragon Scale, yellow quality. The system description was basically a whole tragic backstory. This scale fell off a dragon living underground centuries ago. Some lucky farmer found it. Had no clue what it was, just thought the jade-like brown thing looked pretty and planned to keep it as a family heirloom. But his daughter got sick, so here he was, desperately trying to sell it. The farmer wanted 20 silver coins. 20. This thing was worth 1 to 3 gold coins easily. But he was sitting there in his patched-up shirt, one of his bull horns chipped and yellowed at the break, nervously rubbing his hands on his knees like he was afraid of asking too much. Keep the change, I said, and tossed him a gold coin. That coin spun through the air, catching sunlight, landed in his rough palm, and the man just collapsed to his knees. Tears hit the cobblestones. He started babbling about saving his daughter, buying supplies, getting an animal to help plow the fields. He tried to bow his forehead to the ground, but I caught him before he could. Stop kneeling and crying, man. Go take your kid to a doctor. He wiped his face with his sleeve, bowed about 15 more times, and stumbled out of the market clutching that gold coin like it was his daughter's life, which, I guess, it was. After that emotional moment, I went back to browsing. Street head to street tail. Mineral stalls. Enchanted weapon shops. 2 junk stores. Turned up absolutely nothing else useful. Everything was weapons, armor, potions, stuff completely useless for a guy trying to brew magical alcohol. Why is it so hard to find brewing ingredients? I groaned, standing at the last shop on the street. Didn't bother keeping my voice down, which meant a certain handcuffed halfling heard every word. Oh, you're looking for brewing materials? Sam's voice piped up from between his 2 guard escorts, his expression shifting from angry prisoner to cunning businessman in about half a second. Yeah? Why? You know where some are. Of course I do. I know exactly where it is, what it is, and who's got it. His little chest puffed out with pride. Hard to look intimidating when you're in handcuffs and your feet barely touch the ground, but he was trying. Fine. What do you want for the intel? You claim you run a tavern in the dark dungeon. Prove it. That's my price. Tell me what the material is first. A phoenix tail feather containing 30% of the bird's life force. Interested? My poker face absolutely cracked. My hand instinctively went to my mushroom ring where Lawrence's purple quality recipe was sitting. The phoenix fire recipe. The one I'd been trying to gather ingredients for. I'm interested. Talk. A group of goblins have it. Death god worshippers. They're planning to use the feather, which is full of life energy, to summon the god of death. And everyone with half a brain knows the entity in the dungeon is the supreme god of death and rebirth. Since you're so confident about your dungeon tavern, just show up when the goblins start their ritual and have a little chat with the death god yourself. Oh, and the ritual starts at 4 p.m. today. Underground cave beneath the forest just outside the city walls. You brave enough? The halfling stared me dead in the eyes with this smug challenge face, which was hilarious because he had to look up to do it. How do you know all this so precisely? You saw it yourself? Obviously. Sam Took never lies or cheats. You're literally a thief. Why would I trust a thief? Tell you what. Give me the goblin force breakdown and I'll go observe this ritual. If you can outcon a halfling rogue, you've earned it. Then he rattled off the intel like a military briefing. 2 high-level goblin shamans, 1 lord-rank goblin warlock, 18 bear goblin warriors, and a bunch of regular grunts. The warlock was the leader, the death god fanatic running the whole show.